Hello and welcome back to day 2 of the Spring Over Vellsar Shadowverse tournament, sponsored by Crunchyroll and presented by the Gaming Stadium. I'm one of your casters for the day, Momo Jelly.
And I'm Rod at Ollie's Stream. Today's event is put on by Canada's leader in esports, the Gaming Stadium. Are you looking for the next big thing in competitive gaming? Well, look no further. The team at the Gaming Stadium are leaders in online esports tournaments and events. Check out the action at tgs.gg. Also, keep the action going after the tournament with a 14-day trial of Crunchyroll Premium. That's plenty of time to binge this season's greatest hits, like Tokyo Revengers or My Hero Academia. Just visit crunchyroll.com/TGS to go premium. We're going to be covering rounds 7 and 8 of the Swiss bracket today, and also after that, we will be covering top 8 as well.
Yeah, we had the first 6 rounds of the Swiss play out yesterday, for those who are just tuning into the action. And as we go into these round 7 games, our 6 O's from yesterday are currently Gravity L, who we saw on stream, Harem, who we also saw on stream, and Elena, all 3 players we saw on stream yesterday, and are currently all 6-0. So I think we'll be probably seeing them later today, but our first round of the day will actually be community veteran Auto Aim against Meme Legends, who we saw yesterday, who is bringing Dragon and Shadow. Auto Aim has the classic Portal and Shadow combo. So it'll be nice to see these kind of most popular decks go against each other, as it seems we are starting off with Portal into Last Word's Shadow. Over the last day, we had a JCG that happened on the Japanese competitive scene, and the winner of that actually was playing Roost Dragon and Wardhaven. So even though we didn't see any Roost Dragon yesterday, Dragon players might decide to switch over to a Roost Dragon deck today. So maybe. Fingers crossed for you, Rod.
Yeah, I personally would be very looking forward to seeing a Roost Dragon, as it is the main deck I play for the last couple of expansions. But as long as we see a bunch of great Shadowverse games today, I do not mind at all. Mm-hmm. And it looks like both players are taking a really long time really thinking about that mulligan. Looks like Auto Aim, our Portal player, is deciding to keep the Syntonization, and I believe, was it a full keep by our Shadow player?
I did not see what he tossed, because he tossed before Auto Aim did.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Psychopomp Tour Guide is a different card from the normal. And it seems like I decided to keep the Wicked Rebirth card, one of the new gold cards from the Spring Over Vellsar mini expansion. One of the cards that really kicked off the Last Words Shadow archetype, really bringing out the power of being able to contest board and draw a couple of cards at the same time while advancing your win con. Really nice.
Yeah, it does just so much for the deck, because not only are you bringing back a Last Words follower, bringing that follower back means that you get to add to your Last Words followers destroyed as well, and sometimes it's card draw, sometimes it summons 2 in the late game. It's just got a lot of flexibility and is good throughout the whole game.
And it looks like Meme Legends ended up playing the Celeste Omega Crystallize on turn 2. I imagine he was hoping to play that for a later turn for the full 6-cost follower, which allows the Shadowcraft player to pretty much lock out any paradigm shifts that would be able to be played during that turn, and ended up drawing his Bubbly Reaper on turn 3. So, not ideal turn 2, but you gotta do what you gotta do and play those cards.
Yeah, you don't want to be passing your early turns in this current meta. The early tempo is definitely important to carry you into your late game. So even though the Shadow player Meme Legends would have preferred to have this less late in the game, having it on 2 is better than having nothing at all on 2.
For sure. And it looks like we only have one paradigm shift generator for Auto Aim. How comfortable do you feel before the evolve turn? How many paradigm shifts do you generally want to have in your hand?
I think you would usually have like 2 or 3. 2 would be, I think, the average, assuming that you play something like an Android Artisan or the Fun Play Point generator. But the only generator that Auto Aim has found so far has been these Miriams. He will be able to generate at least another one this turn, even drawing an artisan, which is a better way of generating it than using the mirror here.
And I believe Meme Legends does not have a 2 play point follower in the graveyard, so clearing the Celestial Mega War. Oh, he does.
He got
Oh,
the
so
bubbly
I'm sorry.
reverse. Yeah, he used the Psycho
this
Pump
job.
on the previous turn to destroy a Bubbly Reaper, so that he did have a follower destroyed for the Celeste.
My mistake. I did not catch that Bone Maven while I was staring at the Portal player's hand. But it looks like he does get the additional value from the Celeste Omega. So that's always nice. Getting 2 Last Word bodies, and 3 if you count the amulet itself. All from one card.
The Gatekeeper pulled the last Bubbly Reaper out of the deck on the first draw, and then on the second follower he got his Bone Fanatic out of the deck. And it looks like Meme Legends is going for a Wicked Rebirth. He's got 2 in hand, so...
Yeah, it looks like he'll be able to cycle through this deck very, very efficiently, building up those Last Words counts. Still has a Sarcophagus as well to bump up the Shadow count. So it looks like he'll have a pretty steady both Last Words destroyed and Shadow game plan being fulfilled. And it seems like Auto Aim is playing Bahamut in his deck. Good to know.
Yeah. Nice note. I'd love to see some absolute tolerances, but some people just don't tolerate the tolerance. Meme Legends trying to decide what to do with his 1 remaining play point. Decides to trade in the 5-2 Bubbly Reaper and go face.
Yeah, it seems like the 5-2 and the 2-2 will both get cleared very similarly against Artifact Portal, so opting for that 2 additional damage. Not a bad idea.
And with that last play point, Meme Legends decided to use a Bone Maven to Burial Rite the Gramarye and draw a card.
It seems like it is possible for him to activate turn 6 Gramarye, but I no doubt Auto Aim is looking at the Shadow count, being prepared for it. Probably will not clear out all the followers and allow him to get that really early Gramarye turn. So we'll probably end up seeing it on turn 7 invoked instead.
I mean, if Auto Aim decides to use the Quicksilver Aegis on the Bubbly Reaper, I think that will prevent Meme Legends from having enough shadows to invoke Gramarye on the following turn.
We're going into overdrive.
Also a good game plan. I am a little bit nervous for Auto Aim. Turn 5, still no additional paradigm shifts outside of the original 2 that he had by turn 4. Do you think he will convert one of these using the Miriam, try to get an additional paradigm shift out?
It's possible. There could also be the consideration of he's feeling a little behind because he doesn't have all the amount of paradigm shifts that he wants. He might try to save the Miriam as a way of finishing out the game and hopefully just draw more paradigm shift generators. So Auto Aim choosing to hold on to his last 2 play points, leave up that Bone Fanatic so that Gramarye is not invoked. Meme Legends could just slam down a Sarcophagus Wraith this turn. I have not been counting the Last Words destroyed this game, so I'm not sure how close we are to a first activation.
And he does end up slamming down that turn 6 Sarcophagus and opting to evolve for face, putting on that pressure. Turn 6 Sarcophagus, a very classic Shadow move in the last couple of expansions, not a big surprise there. Advancing your game plan, drawing cards, getting those shadows out and bodies out.
Yeah, I mean, Legends could be feeling pretty comfortable knowing that Auto Aim only has 2 paradigm shifts in hand, if he's been keeping count of the played cards.
So I feel like Shadow's sitting pretty. We could go into turn 8, assuming he gets a little bit more chip damage in. A double Necro Impulse would be pretty formidable.
Yeah, double Necro Impulse is always a serious thing to be looking down at. I wonder what Auto Aim decides to do here. Still not drawing into any more paradigm shift generators. No way to really draw either. So it looks like he is going for just a turn 6 Spinaria. Like to at least grab maybe the Keen Edge. Really considering going for barrier and airstrike, actually not going for Keen Edge at all.
You won't have time to pray.
Evoing the barrier and going face, making sure that he does not pop the amulets for Mean Legends, making Mean Legends have to do it himself.
That does mean that the extra 2/2 and 4 body will not be fully active. Yes. So he has 2, I wouldn't call them useless bodies at the moment, but they do not provide immediate value. He's gonna decide to look at Rebirth, see what he draws. He does have the, I believe, the 10 last word conditions fulfilled, as he did summon 2.
I have to imagine he does at this point, yes.
So what do you think about that play previously by not trading in, leaving the Sarcophagus Wraith and deciding to go face?
I think that was a really good call on Auto's part. I think if he had traded, he would have straight up died to the Necro Impulses.
Here's the shady part. Oh, am I?
So a very good call by Auto Aim. But it only really buys him time, as this big board of wards is now what he's staring against, and he still only has 2 paradigm shifts.
This is looking very rough, as not only will he have to clear the entire board, he also will have to heal up at least a little bit to dodge the Necro Impulse. But he also has Gremlin Effect out, so he could play 3 if he really wanted to. That's a lot of damage from out of hand.
How much damage is Auto Aim able to do if he's starting with the Miriam?
Systems stand by. Going supersonic. We're on red alert. Repeat, we're on red alert.
I wonder what he's up to.
I'm not sure there's any follow-up after this second paradigm shift.
I'll destroy you all. I'm fine by myself. I was so lonely.
Quicksilver barrier.
Yeah, just leaving up lethal on board, just showing off the damage that he can do this turn. The sort of information that if he had 2 more paradigm shifts, the game would have been over. But Mean Legends taking this first game with his Shadow into the Artifact Portal. That was such an unfortunate draw for the Artifact Portal. Auto Aim side.
Only 2 paradigm shifts in, I believe, the first 5-6 turns. So again, really rough, and just did not come out in time to be prepared for the Shadows game plan. Getting this 10 last word and Chris effect out quite early with Gremlin Effect. Pretty much everything that the Shadow player needed to seal the deal in that game.
And we will now. Mean Legends just needs to win with Dragon in order to take the set. And yesterday he showed off his luck, able to hit that first 1 in 5 with the Cursed Fur on the Gremlin to go face. It was the first kind of big yelling moment of yesterday. One of a couple.
Not a bad keep from our Dragon player, grabbing Oracle into Razia and turn 4 Roy. It's going to be
even getting Cute Goblin to start. Look at that.
Probably one of the best openers for the Dragon player, especially going first. Razia, when played out early, is super hard to deal with our Shadow, for our Shadow player, considering they play a lot of low attack followers, doing 1, maybe 2 damage.
You say it's hard to deal with, but Rick and Rebirth right there is the answer.
It is the answer.
Pretty easily. But it actually needs a last word follower destroyed first, which Auto Aim does not have.
And interestingly enough, he's decided to include Archangel of Remembrance in the deck. What do you think the card is teched out for? Perhaps the Mirror or Dragon?
I would say the mirror or artifact portal. I think both. Again, yesterday's JCG, not today's JCG winner, but the yesterday's was playing Shadow and Artifact Portal and was running triple Archangel of Remembrance in both his Shadow and his Portal. So I think they're good for both of those matchups because you have things. Well, of course, the multitude of Last Words followers in Shadow to banish off, as well as those one defense Last Words followers in Artifact Portal, Spinaria's Artifact, the one play point paradigm shift generator, as well as the analyzing artifact.
It looks like our Shadow player Auto-Aim has a very clean clear. He's going to take a little bit of damage from the Razia, but he's going to be able to fully clear the full 5/5 Roy stat line, which can be pretty hard to deal with if Dragon player decides to go first. That Lurching Corpse Detonate will be very useful in that regard. And he'll still have a board to push face.
Yeah, choosing to use the Psycho Pulse on the Lurching Corpse first, just to roll sort of 50-50 on the amount of damage he would be taking from Razia.
Do you believe that taking 3 less damage and then sacrificing the board is a better play against Dragon with all that burn damage?
Yeah, I think the board doesn't matter too much against Dragon. Sometimes having the board can contest and race a little bit against face Dragon, but big boards are usually very easy for Dragon to clear. Things like Georges, Tiamat Omega could clear out the wide board that Auto-Aim had pretty easily.
And Meme Legends has the double Reggie Overflow opener on the first Evolve turn, with the Oracle and Roy allowing him to do so, getting the Storm out early. And he also has a Quixotic Roy follow-up after. It's a lot of damage for our Shadow player to be dealing with, and if he's not able to heal enough, Dragon player can close out the game very quickly if he decides to go that route.
Yeah, the Shadow player does have some Nightmare Devourers to try to heal back a little bit, but the amount of damage that that Dragon will be able to push out will be a bit difficult. Face Dragon, very mainstay deck, has been around for a couple months now, and has no intention of going anywhere, it seems.
Oh, this thing's more vicious than a 9-headed dragon. This is
there we
pure
see the double Reggie on
pure
face 8
craftsmanship.
damage. Leaving the Shadow player at 7. Looks like Auto-Aim is considering the Sarcophagus Wraith. The Nightmare Devourers only do a little bit of heal, and it's a 50-50 each time whether you'll actually get the heal. So Auto-Aim could try to just guarantee his heals by going with Sarcophagus Wraith and the Bone Maven, which it seems like that's what he's doing.
Also, another consideration, even though Auto-Aim does not know what Meme Legends has in his hand, the Roy AoE effect will destroy the Nightmare Devourers, correct? So it may also heal him additionally, but may not be enough for the full damage of the Dragon player.
Considering goes face with the 1/1 as a target for the Wicked Reaper. Auto-Aim easily able to clear out the board, but the Roy will be doing,
I believe it is 12 damage with the Evolve.
Right. So just not quite enough heal.
On to the next
Auto-Aim
project.
here. And just a quick
The uncharted desert awaits.
Dragon game from Meme Legends. This time not having to roll any crazy 1 in 5 curse first, just
Of course I do.
going face, drawing ramp into Razia, into Reggie's, into face. Name of the deck, really.
Yeah, that opener was actually so very, very strong. Straight from the opener into the end of the game. Everything he needed.
And with that, I think we're gonna quick games, but the rounds are going fast, it sounds. So I think we will take a quick break before we come back for round 8. Hello and welcome back to the Spring Over Vellsar Shadowverse tournament, sponsored by Crunchyroll and presented by the Gaming Stadium. We're heading into round 8. It's been so many Swiss rounds.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting too. I think the players that are playing are Celia Nima and LB, both bringing Dragon, which I'm pretty happy with. It'd be pretty interesting to see what they end up deciding to go with. Probably vehicle, but I'm crossing my fingers and hoping for a little bit of wrist. And then I also see a little bit of blood. We haven't seen any blood in the tournament yet so far on the screen. That'll be interesting. And then Haven is also being brought by LB on the other side. Also a lower percentage deck, I believe.
Yeah. LB is actually, their full name is LB Hoshiakari, I believe, is what at least Translate is telling me. So it'll be interesting to see, yeah, how they play out this. And apparently LB is short for their team name, which is Lashena's Blessing. So that's a cute team name. Oh, we're getting to see blood. There it is. Both players actually using the Idol Master Leader tie-in. Looks like the blood player is in fact playing Evo Blood, where we've got the Haven Award Haven on the bottom.
And we've got both Anvelt, Ramiel, and Sarissa. These are all really nice cards to have in the early game for Wardhaven. We may see the Ramiel come out on 2, or we could see it come out on 4 and get that extra play point advantage for going second and playing that Ramiel out on 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, drawing a second one, it'll be easy to play the Ramiel out on both turns this time. One for each turn.
Looks like it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Blood player? I was gonna say that for the blood player, they might want to consider the Showdown Demon here, just so they could do some drawing next turn, but unfortunately, I don't know what would be a good toss. Maybe if they don't want to toss their Liberté or their Resolve, they might just play Liberté on 2 instead. This does forego Liberté's extra effects of being able to destroy a follower and gain the ability to evolve for free. And going first, you kind of want as many free evos as you can get, but just choosing to skip a turn entirely, not wanting to throw anything away with the Showdown Demon, not wanting to waste the Liberté.
This does mean that he doesn't have a 2-drop 2 trade into the Wardhaven player's 2-drop to slow down the Anvelt countdown proc. The Liberté does not get to evolve until at least turn 5 for the blood player. So I would have expected maybe playing it out early just to contest the board a little bit, but Celia seems to have a different game plan in mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Celia going to just play the Liberté now on 3, which makes it, again, more of a question on why they wouldn't play it on 2 at this point, but maybe they're just hoping to draw into something. Hoshiakari, I believe, is looking at the Sarissa, and if they drop the Sarissa, Celia does have the answer to it. They could just resolve the Fallen onto it so it does not snowball out of control, but that will mean leaving up, well, he'll be able to trade the Ramiel now, so it won't leave the Ramiel, but Hoshiakari not sure if he wants to play the Sarissa, really considering it, and finally deciding to play the Sarissa.
Decides to go face it as well. Doesn't need a trade as he is Wardhaven and has more tempo on the board. The extra ward also allows for the additional countdown on the Anvelt. It looks like a very easy resolve of the Fallen to get rid of that Sarissa.
Celia can't have that Sarissa snowballing out of control. So even though Celia is the player going first, they're kind of on the back foot here, kind of because they didn't play a 2-drop on 2. They've been kind of slow for tempo, trying to get it back.
For the end is near.
If Hoshiakari decides to play the Apostle here, then it'll make it for a very easy clear with the Thunderbolt Fiend for Celia next turn.
I think he's calculating on when the Anvelt will pop out. If he decides to go for the Apostle on this turn, may decide to go for the Abdiel to get the extra evolve effects out as early as turn 5 because he did ramp up with the Ramiel on turn 4. Do you believe he'll hold on to the second Anvelt as well? It is a little bit late and he doesn't have too many cards in hand.
It's definitely something to think about. If he decides to play the Anvil now. It'll be a couple of turns before it comes out, depending on what Hoshikari draws, so they might want to consider holding on to it just to play out the full cost in 2 turns because the hand size is so small. And it seems to be what they're going for.
And a very quick slam down on the Thunderbolt Fiend from the Evo Blood player. I think this card is one of my favorite silver cards in the Darkness Over Vellsar expansion. Feels like it does a little bit of everything. Clears board, draws you the cards, initiates Avarice twice if you use the Evolve effect. Reminds me of the old Radiance Angel card that Haven used to play many years back. Drawing a card, getting that heal. Didn't quite contest board as it does now, but very reminiscent. It looks like he does end up getting that leader effect out, getting the automatic evolves just for playing any follower on board. Pretty clean turn 6.
Yeah, with only 1 follower on the board, it's not much of a problem for Abdiel. Sometimes if you go wide before the Abdiel turn, it'll be hard for Abdiel to come down. But going wide is usually not too much of what Evo Blood does. And the Evo Blood player Celia did not draw into Maria, so kind of finding themselves in an awkward turn. You might see the showdown, maybe discarding the Wellas. Next turn, Celia does have Combustion Demon for a very solid turn 7. And though this turn is fairly awkward, Celia does have card advantage in terms of having a much bigger hand currently. And neither player has dealt any face damage just yet, so leaving followers up isn't too much of a big deal, though the board will be cleared out with an Evolve. Trying to decide what else to discard. Already discarding 1 Vela. Probably misclicked trying to on the second. Going to discard the first Showdown Demon and the Vela.
See what amulet he gets here. I believe the Ward amulet is going to be better than the Bite.
I feel like every time I evolve Showdown Demon, whichever amulet I want is not the one I'm gonna get. Like every single time. So unfortunate. Hoshikari slamming down the Raw. Able to use his base damage. And because they have an excess of Evo points, no reason to not evolve at this stage of the game.
The APC giving the extra defense is pretty nice. Allows one of the Combustion Demons to live while trading and have both effects go off at the end of the turn to clear the Anvil. So a little bit of RNG there, but works out in favor of the Blood player.
I will rise again.
If the Evolve had went on the other side, would it have made a difference if it evolved the other follower? The Raw instead. You could have a 7-7 and a 5-6, and I think it would have been a little bit more difficult there.
Well, our Blood player Celia does have 2 worlds in hand.
Just kidding.
And activated worlds. Usually when you have 2 worlds in hand, it's kind of hard to get both of them out. So definitely consideration to get that extra card draw. The other cards are a lot easier to play alongside the rest of the cards in his deck. So I would not mind a world immediately, but decides to go for the Vuela instead.
I'll give it my all.
You are
Trading out with the Vuela here, and now with the Vuela evolved, the Grimmirs are active. Does Steely decide to play out one of the Grimmirs this turn, or try to play them both in the same turn? Without a Resolve of the Fallen, it's kind of iffy if you want to do both in the same turn. And with the Vuela being the first card played, going for that free Evo, I'd assume that playing Grimnir is why they'd go for that option over playing the World. But Celia definitely taking their time to consider what they want to do here.
cyclones.
Going with the Grimnir, dealing 10 damage, and the only form of heal that Wardhaven typically runs is the 5-drop gold follower. I can't remember the card name off the top of my head, but it has a fanfare heal, and then it summons a snake priestess every time that the leader is healed, and then you can evolve him to get a little bit more heal.
I believe his name
another snake
is
priestess.
Reverend Adjudicator, something like that.
That sounds correct.
Really like that
Adjudicator
card.
Is not in the hand right now, so
We're just getting started,
going with
right?
Sarissa, which will summon Anvelt,
Gunfire.
and
Purges
then
all
possibly
sin.
the Enchanted Knight for
This
more
armor's
draw
turning out pretty
and
useful.
more wards to buff the Sarissa. And I believe we'll see an Evo. Choosing to Evo the Sarissa over the 3-1, which will make Sarissa lose her little shield,
Resistance
but
is
keeps
meaningless.
her wards healthy. Or keeps the other wards healthy.
I have not seen Anre's 15 Skybound art effect come out in this matchup in particular. But I suppose if he is able to get it out, Grimnir's damage is significantly reduced.
Serves me right.
But it looks like our blood player did find lethal with Grimnir. This he was actually introduced in this expansion, right? As a buff to all the evolve-based decks that were in the meta.
Yes, Grimnir was introduced this expansion, and we all thought Grimnir was trouble the first time he came out. His original card, 10 play points, deal 4 damage, that was once too scary and had to be nerfed. And now he does 10 damage for 4 play points.
Pretty good.
Oh, how Shadowverse has changed over the years.
Yep. Moving on to our second match, we have Dragon versus Haven. See if LB will be able to. I'm sorry, I keep getting the name wrong.
I mean, it's their team tag, so we can just. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. See if we can bring it back with this Haven this time around.
Queuing Haven once again, and Celia seems to be playing Gold Face Dragon. Face Dragon was very popular in today's JCG, even though it was Roost Dragon that ended up taking first. Face Dragon just dealing so much damage, very good against most of the meta deck.
Do not seek what is not there. Repent!
And it looks like our Wardhaven player will be able to get a lot of value out of his Enchanted Knight. Getting 3 draws is super value. It seems pretty rare to do that, especially early on in the game. So
Yeah,
let's see what he pulls
definitely.
out.
Armor's turning out pretty
Definitely a
useful.
good curve from Toshiakari here.
You've been chosen.
And our Dragon player does have 1 ramp into turn 4 Roy. So he will have the play points going into the mid game to set up a good late game. Do you think he'll play Anvelt here? Okay.
Yes. Before I could even consider, Toshiakari's made a decision. And very funny that Hoshiakari's team with Shenna's Blessing, despite that name for the team, they're not playing Portal at all.
Just kind of hoping to see the portal after hearing about the team description
name?
name. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe
all.
because of all of the wards on the board with the Anvil being played. I was gonna say that Celia might consider playing the Wings of Tomorrow, but no, just going for the Roy. Very solid, getting that rampant and presenting a big body.
Don't take this personal.
And Celia is playing Jerva in his Face Dragon deck, which I know many people are a big fan of.
And this Roy is quite hefty, especially with the Dutiful Steed attached onto it. A lot of the Haven followers that he is able to play from hand do not have a high attack base value, so clearing this Roy, it would be very difficult.
Yes, I think even if you trade both the wards in, that's not enough wards destroyed for the Lunarian to have the evolve effect on the wards that it will summon. So yeah, I think it will be a kind of a difficult clear
The
here.
heck? My body's moving on
And
its
any
own.
board that he does present here can get cleared out with a Georges if he had it.
My blade and my
Um,
ears work as one.
So that's something to consider. Also, Overflow is active, so Tiamat will also do 2 AoE damage to the field, and this Roy is likely to hit face.
There's Georges, there's Tiamat, there's Jerva. There's many options here for Celia to clear out the full board, and the Roy will definitely be going face. Be interesting to see which option that Celia chooses to go to clear the board with. It will take an evolve point regardless of which option he chooses. So maybe he wants to get the Jerva leader effect active, even though it will not proc this turn. And maybe save the double 4-drops for turn 8.
Break your chains and become the dragon.
Because even though Celia has taken more damage at this point,
Look upon me.
the Ward Haven doesn't really push a lot of damage from turn to turn. The only way to really push the base damage would be Lunarian and the Sandbelt coming out in Raw. I do not believe there's enough wards destroyed for the Lunarian to be giving out storms yet, but Anvelt will be coming out, depending on the turn. Anvelt can come out this turn.
My blade in my ears.
Oh, Lunarian Paladin is in fact active. Probably going to set up a bunch of wards and evolve.
Definitely active for the Evos. We can probably see one traded and then another ward played out, either the Ramiel, maybe the Onray, or the Sacred Stone Apostle. Any of them would be about the same here. Deciding to go with an Evo and the Lunarian Paladin and trading that in, leaving up probably as many wards as we can, because the Anvil coming out here. We'll clear out the board after that trade. We can trade any of the wards.
Dragon does have very efficient clear though, as he said earlier. Very many options.
Keeping both the Tiamat and the Georges up from the previous turn makes this a fairly easy clear, just using the double 4-drops, and Georges will be available, not Georges, Gondagoza will be available on the following turn.
Vile dragon, repent your
Being able to even heal a little bit with the Tiamat Omega. Tiamat Omega coming out last expansion's mini. Very impactful card for many forms of dragon.
Forgiven.
Being a board clear and a heal. Even having a crystallize effect, as the Omegas do. I imagine we will see some heal.
If he does go through the path of healing, he does have the activated Honorary out. I'm not sure if he wants to save it for the super effect, but he does have a way to fully clear and heal up and ward up the board if he plays the Reverend Adjudicator. But we'll see. He has a few options to do. If he does decide to go for the ward, the world, he will not be able to clear the team as well. So I suspect he will do something like Adjudicator plus Onray.
Very likely.
Judgment is yet
And
to come.
Gondagoza, even without the heal, would not have been lethal on the following turn. So it'll be interesting to see what Celia will be doing with the turn. They could potentially use both forms of On Wings of Tomorrow to full clear out the board, and then they will go face with the active Jerva effect.
Those who propagate war will be
Actually, the Onray will be vulnerable, so it does not clear out the full board to use both of the forms of On Wings of Tomorrow.
Do we know how many evolves our Haven player has? He did get out one Lunarian Paladin evolve, correct? So I would assume that's 4 evolves for our Haven player?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be correct.
So if he does want to draw with the Resolve of the Fallen, he would have to use the Lunarian Paladin effect first. And getting the all the effects of Resolve of the Fallen is quite value, especially since it helps with the problem of not drawing enough cards and hand size that Ward Haven typically has.
I'll open the way. You follow behind.
Although earlier he was it this game or last game he played the 3 mana 1/3 draw card.
That was this game.
That was this game,
earlier
okay.
on turn 3 of this game. He was able to keep his hand size up pretty well. Celia decided to start with On Wings of Tomorrow for Grand's Resolve,
Witness
doing a
the
little bit of
fury
drawing,
my
as
curse.
well as clearing out one of the Strength Priestesses. And with the Jerva effect, clearing out all but the Reverend Adjudicator, Hoshiakari might take this opportunity to just use the world to both heal and draw. And with the Reverend Adjudicator still on the board, this would actually produce another Snake Priestess as well. But it looks like Hoshiakari is hovering on the Sarissa option, which I believe would summon Anvelt.
My blade and my ears work as
Going
one.
with the Lunarian Paladin, which I believe will summon Storms.
My light will save you all!
I forgive you.
We might see something interesting this turn from Celia. He has the option to go for like On Wings of Tomorrow for Grand Resolve, and if he hits the Sarissa, he could play the Bahamut to full clear out the board, and the 5 damage from the Jerva effect would actually do 6 damage at the end of turn. Though I think the On Wings of Tomorrow into Bahamut is probably his only way of clearing the board out this turn, unless he wants to draw into something. But with the guaranteed clear already in his hand, if he sees it, I assume that would be the option rather than trying to risk it on a draw.
Will Sarissa have too much HP to be cleared by the Jerva effect? She does go up to an 8/8, correct?
Does go up to an 8/8. We started with a draw. So if he goes now for the On Wings of Tomorrow for the Evo point, the Georges can clear out a good bit here. It doesn't full clear, but it does clear out at least the Sarissa, which is a threat on the board. But I think if you leave any followers up at this point, the Anvelt...
He actually gets the full clear. That's...
Oh, he targeted the Sarissa and he needed to target one of the wards actually to full clear here. Which was my misguided way of thinking. And
I believe he got really lucky with the wings, correct? It hit a non-ward follower, so Sarissa did not get buffed to...
yeah, but because he did not full clear out the board, because he targeted the Sarissa rather than the ward on board plus the Anvelt is lethal, and Hoshiakari takes their 1 win. The set is now 1-1, and whoever wins this final set will... or final game will win the set. There we go, that's the phrasing here.
So that was a little bit of a misplay from our Dragon player last game, right? He had the option of full clearing after seeing that the wings hit the right target.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like we're going to have a Dragon Mirror.
Chill you to
Yeah.
the bone.
It also looks like Celia
Now,
has the
before
Korean
Dark
flag
Dragoon,
as their flag
ruler
set
of the
in-game.
skies.
So potentially we're seeing a Japanese player versus a Korean player right now. A good reminder that this is a global tournament. So you're seeing players from all over the world. If they're able to wake up for the timing of it.
Celia has opened up with Quixotic Reggie, probably one of the strongest openers for a Dragon. And on the opposite side, we have Wormfire Engineer plus Reggie. So both sides will be able to get their ramp up. Celia drawing the Fuhrer as well and going first. So he will be able to get to 7 play points pretty quickly into the first evolve turn, which is quite important in setting up a really good Dragon game.
Adventure's what I live for.
Very interesting that Celia going first is the one with the Quixotic into Reggie, whereas Hoshiakari going second has the bike into Reggie so that they can trade out to the Reggie. It's interesting that they both kind of got what's better for them. I have to imagine we'll be seeing the bullet bike coming down, but our player is taking some time to think about it. And as they think on it, if you're looking at this game from your desk and you're looking for a final piece for your desk, or your setup. You can find everything you need to build the best workstation or battle station at cantoliving.com. Check out their monitor mounts, speakers, and stands today.
I leave the adventure into you.
And also, no matter who wins today, everyone can come out on top with a 14-day trial of Crunchyroll Premium. Enjoy the hottest shows like Jujutsu Kaisen in HD and ad-free. Just visit crunchyroll.com/TGS to go premium. And no surprise here, Reggie on turn 3 is the best play for Celia at the moment. Pretty classic maneuvering.
Yeah, and Hoshiakari did not play the bullet bike on the previous turn, so in order to remove this Reggie, they're going to need to play their second Dragon Rearing on the turn 1 Warfare Engineer to trade out.
On to the next
So,
project.
really big use of resources. 2 Dragon Rearings out early means that there's less damage and less cycle.
Face you head on.
But it
for
does
later.
mean that they've saved themselves from taking damage here in the early game, which could be pretty pivotal.
Wasteland's a fixer-upper.
As the player going second in the Dragon Mirror, being able to tide some of the damage out in order to start winning the race of the damage race, really, can be a pretty tricky position. So, very interesting choices.
Do you feel like perhaps the bullet bike was he didn't go for it, obviously, but do you think the bullet bike into Reggie was maybe a better consideration instead of the double trade?
Repent your wicked deeds.
Well,
I think it'll definitely
on to the
require a
next
bit
project.
of looking at the whole game. I'm not sure if... Usually, the bullet bike into Reggie is exactly what you want to be doing. But in this particular matchup, in the mirror, I don't hate that he used his Dragon Rearing to save his face some damage. So, a Roy has been played. Both players doing a bit of ramping, the Royal player going first. I don't know if they've done the same amount of ramping, because they will both be on 8 play points on this turn. Both turn 5.
Designs are like unhatched dragon eggs. There's a lot more where that came
It's hard to
from.
keep count of turns
Hatch
when
inspiration and take
you're in a
your
Dragon
Eureka!
Mirror.
Well, that's too bad.
Starting with the Wormfire Engineer and then possibly just passing, setting up for the Gondagoza on the next turn.
If I see that and I see my dragon opponent skipping 7 play points and seeing the bike on the field, alarms going off in my head. I know what's in his hand. How do we
does not
decide to
feel
play
good.
around it?
I
How do
mean,
we
there's no real playing around it because you could try to play around Gondagoza by not leaving any followers on the board here. But then if instead Celia has Roy, it's that illusion of choice that we've all gotten used to this expansion with Face Dragon. So I think, though you could choose to play around it by not playing anything, I think you just got to play for your own game plan, play for the race, play like Chaotic into Razia into another Chaotic so that you can set up for your own damage.
Yeah. Leaving nothing on the board is pretty much a losing situation, and it feels bad no matter what. But you got to do what you got to do to win the game. So
Yeah. So it could be the choice. Hoshiakari could choose to just pass, and then the Gonda could not go face. But if Celia just draws a Stormfaller anyway, then that pass does nothing to advance Hoshiakari's position in the game. They're really taking it down to the wire on what they want to do here. And they pass. And Celia did not draw a Storm Follower, so Hoshiakari is actually rewarded for playing around the Gondagoza despite it being like a sort of illusion of choice situation. Are we going to see just another pass here?
wow, this is really wild.
Yeah, I wonder what Hoshiakari will be doing on the following turn now that they decided to pass. If they want to continue to just play around Gondagoza, they could do something like Razia Bahamut, but if they're suspecting that their opponent is also playing Bahamut, then they could just take 12 to the face with a hard played Bahamut on the 10 play point turn.
You know, I feel like I liked what you suggested, Quixotic into Razia, with possibly the second Quixotic,
In reserve.
and just accept that there might be a Gondagoza going face, because I feel like the more you pass, the worse it is.
Celia drawing the Roy now on turn 10. Probably would have preferred to see it last turn. Celia could clear out the board a couple different ways here, or push some face damage in a couple different ways here. We'll see what do they decide to do, whether they just want to go face with some Gondagoza damage, whether they want to clear out the board with a combination of Tiamat, Omega, and Georgius. Couple different options here. What a tricky and interesting Dragon Mirror. They're both pretty close to really healthy. Hoshiakari haven't taken 2 damage throughout the course of this game. And they're both hitting their 10 play point turns here.
Vile dragon.
Looks like Celia has a really good clear here by playing the 2 best buddies, the double 4 play point combination, Tiamat and Georgius. Doing a little bit of heal, doing a little bit of face damage, and fully clearing out the board. Really amazing tempo for Celia right there.
I don't imagine we'll see the Dragon Rearing come out. Even though we love some draw, it's probably you want to save that damage for face. We could see some heal here from Hoshiakari. They are playing Zolgenia the World in their face dragon deck. It's an option that's kind of fallen out of popularity, but well, sometimes it's popular, sometimes it's not. It's definitely always been an option for the deck.
I'll head the vanguard.
And does end up drawing a 4-drop Razia, which is really nice to combo with the world, utilizing the full play points that the Dragon player has. And decides to...
I'll
Do they
blast
want
my
to buff
way
the attack of the Razia by trading? They do. Okay. They considered the world trade, but ultimately went with the Razia trade. The Roy in hand does not have a target to destroy, so it would not gain Storm. If you use something like Gondagoza here, you're leaving up a 7/5, which is not what you want to be doing in this mirror.
Bahamut
Bahamut
does do a decent amount of damage and clears board.
If you want to do your own damage, though, you could play Razia, like Razia Rearing in Bahamut. Oh, look at me. I play a good little bit of a dragon sometimes.
Ready to witness my true strength? I've been keeping this in reserve.
And then you play Bahamut, and then you can trade.
Just finish the job.
But you do take that Razia damage in the process. Being at 11, you do a good chunk of damage with the Razia, but dead to the Bahamut in hand. I think that it might have also been lethal with the Wormfire Engineer Roy rearing, but Hoshiakari not feeling that fancy, just going with the Bahamut Slam, winning out this mirror. So maybe those early game saving that damage really did pay off in the end. I mean, they were very healthy there, so maybe it didn't matter too much, but they ended up winning, so... And yeah, so today's event is put on by Canada's leader in esports, the Gaming Stadium. If you're looking for the next big thing in competitive gaming, well, look no further than the team at the Gaming Stadium. They are leaders in online esports tournaments and events. Check out the action at tgs.gg.
And also, you want a fast and easy way to recycle that energy drink, Canna Pop, or juice box you finished refueling on? With Return It Express, there's no sorting, no lineups, no handling clash, and refunds are deposited straight into your online account. You can just drop off your empties at an express depot near you and go. Signing up is easy too. Just head over to returnit.ca/express to give your empties a second life.
Yeah, I think we'll be coming into another one of our round 8 matches and we'll be watching a Gallant Tricksters Elkarim versus Elena from Team Enmity. Elkarim playing Forest and Dragon, and Elena playing Shadow and Haven. It'll be interesting to see which decks they've queued up. I believe this set is currently 1-1, or we'll be going into their game 3. So definitely a lot of action here. And after this round 8, we'll be able to see who's made it into our top 8 for the day. I believe we'll have 7, either 6 or 7 ones or a single 8-0 player, if depending on how the matching has gone out. And I think our top 8 will also have 1 6-2 player. So that tiebreaker is determined by Battlefly's system of the default opponent win rate percentage. So I think those 6-2 players who have already finished out to their set are probably staring at their win rate percentage or opponent win rate percentage and trying to see if they'll be able to grab that last slot.
Ugh.
So here we have Elena at the bottom playing Haven. We've got another Ward Haven player today. And Elkrim is actually playing Forest. I wonder what Forest they are playing. Very interesting to see. We do not... Looks like Elkrim rejected a friend request here, so we aren't able to see his hand. But we will be able to see his board, as we are 1-1 in this set. Also going with a very interesting choice of Forest leader. I think the name is Dietrich. Are you?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
And it looks like both of our players have already won 1 game with Shadow, Elena, and 1 game with Dragon. So this will be the last match we see for this match.
Look at the symmetry in Elena's hand. We've got 2 Sarissas, 2 Abdiels, and we've got a Tree of Wonders played, which makes me want to believe that this forest is a Sekka forest.
I have seen a little bit of Tree of Wonder in Moxus, but it does seem more likely that it would be Sekka Fairy Forest, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it is an amulet, so it would count towards things like Sakuna. But most likely, it's more of a pick in Sekka Forest. And Alberta also a card in both decks, so we're not certain yet, but I've got my suspicions.
Oh, and he's got the Ramule on 4 into Abdiel on 5 combination going second. So he's not going to have to worry about the Evo counts.
Evo points.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you played Take-Two since the mini expansion?
I have not, but I have been meaning to.
I wonder if that card is Abdiel is in Take-Two, because it would seem like it would be really insane in a value-oriented format like Take-Two.
I imagine if it is in the pool, that it is very good. And I think as a new card, it should be in the pool of Take-Two cards. I think we'll see our Ramule come down here. There we are. Elena playing their Ramule.
Awaken for the end you've been
And
chosen.
Alkarim played a Fairy Slugger on team 4.
The Sarissa's in hand seem a little bit awkward. He has ramped up a pretty decent amount, but there aren't too many good targets for Sarissa to bring back out. Ideally, obviously, you want to get the Anvelt out early and then Sarissa combo it later. But maybe he gets the Anvelt out on 7 or in later turns and can back-to-back Sarissa to clear board if needed.
Mm-hmm. Well, clearing board against what looks like it's like a forest can be a kind of interesting choice to make, because they usually want to be increasing the amount of Forest Craft followers that have left play to get to their Sekka, especially since here on this first Evo turn, the Forest player has not found an Aria. So they might have to be leaning into either finding their Aria before their next Evo, or having to go for a more fair game plan where they have to win with like either a Sekka OTK combo or some combination of pushing some face damage with maybe things like the Alberta leader effect that's active and some Shamu Shanas.
Assuming you do not have the Arya leader effect out, how difficult would you say this matchup is if you had to just go with Sekka and Shamu Shamus and Albertas to win either game?
I think it's very difficult. And invoking Alberta here just to knock on the ward, using up their Fairy Wisps to summon the Alberta here, makes me want to believe that the Forest player does not currently have a Windfall Fae in hand. Otherwise, that would be a very interesting choice to make. I think our Forest player is kind of on the back foot here. And I think without the Arya leader effect, it's very difficult to clear out many wards to get to the face here in this matchup. So I think the Force players really just got to be hoping that they've drawn Arya here, or can start digging for her. And if they end up using their Evo point just to clear out some boards, though the 1-1 and the 3-2 not being too much of a scary board here, so they might just hold on to their Evo if they haven't found anything. We do have a Sekka, and they're Evoing it out to clear the board here.
I would imagine with the cards in hand, he will have a balance since he hasn't played anything other that's worthwhile.
Playing with Sekka back. Now the Forest Craft followers that have left play is currently equal to 10. I caught a little glimpse of it.
I am the fallen leaf.
Ready to pounce.
On the top of the screen there, and after the bounce of that Sekka and this Alberta, it's now at 12. If the Shamushana goes away, that'll be 13. I'm keeping count this time. So having cleared out here with the Sekka, able to do a little push of damage with a Shamushana and an Alberta here, making sense as to why the Forestcraft follower or Forestcraft player decided to clear out the wards.
That is 3 bounces down. Do you remember how many leftover Sekka spells he has left in his hand?
He has 1 currently.
It looks like our Haven player opts to draw a bunch of cards using the Lunarian Paladin and the Enchanted Knight combination on 7. Try to find his win conditions like Grimnir.
And an interesting tech in Alina's Wardhaven deck, he's got the Lion, which similar to Anvil can be crystallized and the countdown reduced with ward followers on the board. Also Jean. Jean is also in this Wardhaven deck. Very interesting build.
Well,
so I believe go ahead.
It does do face damage, and I know Twitch chat loves Smorking.
Sekka, the X on Sekka is currently equal to 13, and we found an Arya a little late, but better than never, using one of the Resolve and Slot spells on the Arya here.
What was I?
And if the Forest player plays out that fairy, they will be able to at least clear out the board. But if they have a bounce, they might want to be bouncing the Sekka rather than clearing out all the wards.
If he does have a bounce, I would imagine it is a much greater importance to get it back into him.
Yes.
I am the fallen leaf.
For sure. And we found a bounce. And now Sekka's X is currently equal to 15. We might see the Wisp get played out just so they don't overdraw. And they did not. They kept the Wisp. I think it makes sense. With the Wisp, it'll be easier to clear out wards in the following turn. Multiple wards can sometimes get in the way of the Forest player being able to find a Sekka lethal.
And keeping the Wisp, does that suggest perhaps that maybe the Forest player has everything he needs in his hand? Doesn't feel like he needs any more draws to be able to close out this game?
Possibly. It could be that could be the indicator here. With the Sekka X equaling 15 and having 2 Wisps currently in hand, both the one from Arya and the one from the Wind Fairy on that previous turn, if the Arya is removed from the board, then the 2 Wisps and Alberta make X equal 19 for Sekka, so the Forest player would only need like 1, and they didn't play out the Fairy, so they definitely have the ability to make the Forest Craft followers that have left to play equal to 20 on this following turn, and they'll have 2 Resolve of the Nine-Tailed Foxes from the Sekka that was played earlier, from one of the Sekkas that was played earlier, and when she gets played out again, she'll produce that second one. So I believe we may be looking at a lethal here.
Very interesting. Decided to evolve the Holy Knight.
So,
You refuse
and
to listen.
double trading to the Ahri instead of the Sarissa. I'm not too sure if that was the play. I feel like the Sarissa would have been cleaner and then he would have kept 2 more bodies up.
But I do believe that the Forest Craft follower, or the Forest player here, has lethal, with just the knowledge that we've seen, even not being able to see their hand, just from previous knowledge. If I know it, perhaps Elena knows it. Two Resolves and Alberta. Alberta having to attack first, so that the X equals 20 for second. X equals exactly 20 right now for these Resolves. Ooh, and a Shana for just even more damage.
That's
Going
a
for
lot
an
of
exact
damage.
lethal.
I like it.
Not
I like
playing
this
anything
player.
extra.
I like this player. You go for exact lethal, you're not extra evolving, just doing the bare minimum to get lethal. I always approve of that.
I'm so happy. I love Suck. I love my daughter. She's on the face of this tournament for all of the advertisements, and we got to see her win a game. So I'm pretty satisfied. So we will take a break, and now when we come back, we'll be back with the top 8. Hello and welcome back. We're about to head into our top 8 of the Spring Over Vellsar tournament, sponsored by Crunchyroll and presented by the Gaming Stadium. Make sure you head to crunchyroll.com/TGS after the stream to go premium and get your 14-day trial.
Hey, and remember all that great music we had during the break? It was by Monster Cat. I personally use it on my stream, and I don't have to worry about any DMCA strikes. For $5 a month, I can go onto their vast categories of genres, find stuff like trance, indie dance, easily create a playlist for my stream, and then just save it, and it's super easy.
Yeah, definitely check them out after this as well, because I could definitely use some more variety of background music in my own streams. And as we're heading into the top 8, our first match that we'll be watching today is actually HSK's Illumina, HSK being Hollowed Sky, versus GT's Elkarim, who we just saw. GT being Team Gallant Tricksters, kind of a old team versus new team sort of situation we've got going on here. Hollowed Sky been around for quite a minute, and Gallant Tricksters really just coming into popularity this year. I think I've been seeing more and more of them in my own personal weekly tournaments and all over the place, so it'll be fun to watch their games again. And Elkarim's also playing for us. He didn't start with it, but it'll be great to watch some more.
Illumina
Some more Force
666.
gameplay.
Illumina
Yeah.
666 is starting out with the classic Shadow Portal, and Elkarim is playing Dragon and Forest. Not too surprised about the picks here.
This is another Shadow with that Archangel of Remembrance tag.
Our Dragon hand is looking pretty heavy. 2 Ganagozas in your early game is pretty rough. He does draw into the curse here, but the Ganagozas will not be able to be played for quite a long time. Maybe you can solve this with a top deck Reggie or something like that.
Yeah, this Dragon player will be living off the top. He's got a couple turns to play things and draw cards, but a difficult position. The Shadow player not having the cleanest 2-drop here. The Archangel of Remembrance might just be dropped as it's the only 2-drop in hand, but Illumina would probably rather have something like a Bubbly Reaper.
For sure. Having that 2/2 stat line to contest board and survive the trade into the Wormfire Engineer would be ideal, but again, all he has is 2 ones to work with. And you don't really want to skip turns against Vehicle Dragons. So you're going to see that Archangel of Remembrance played onto, just like you said.
And yeah, here's the Roland's Roar. So at least we've found a On Wings of Tomorrow. So there's something playable for next turn for the Dragon player. But still nothing great. Still living off the top and needing to draw cards. The Wormfire Engineer could value trade here in from 2, and that's what Elkarim's choosing to do, knowing that their hand is pretty empty. They don't want to leave anything to chance, or give Illumina the choice of doing either the trade or perhaps playing something like Psycho Pump on the remaining 2-1.
I would not mind the going face there. but he did decide to play it safe, just trading into the 2-1. Since Wings does clear out 2 followers, it is very likely that he would not be punished for going face there, getting in that 1 extra damage. Let's see what our Shadow player decides to do. He has a couple of plays to make, either going with the Sarcophagus, more draw-oriented, or the Otherworld, pulling out more stats on the board.
As well as pulling something out of the deck and kind of thinning it a little bit.
Welcome back to the land.
Yeah, going with the Otherworld just because it does, again, thin the deck, pulling that Bubbly Reaper out of the deck, and giving him more cards with the last words onto the board right now.
I'll open the way.
The Dragon player does end up going with the Wings, get that card draw out, and he does have playable cards going into the Evolve turns. So not forced to be too worried, considering he did open up with the double Gondagoza. And had the Dragon player not played Wings right there, by playing the Otherworld, he had the option to, perhaps if it survived, be able to Evolve Face and put yet another Last Words follower out on the board with the Evolve effect.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the turn 6 was looking a bit awkward. Like, he did find playable cards, thankfully, with the Wings of Tomorrow, but it was kind of looking a bit awkward. But with that top deck Reggie, we might see that come down to just improve the ramping situation. You could even play the Rearing after playing the Reggie just to draw some more cards if that's in Elgrim's game plan, but he wouldn't be able to full clear out the board if he went with that line. So maybe considering the Tiamat Omega, which also wouldn't full clear, so it'll be interesting to see what Elgrim goes for here.
Yeah, nothing super clean to fully clear out the board, but he could play a combination of 2 and 4.
Yeah.
Get most of it cleared.
If he plays the combination of 2 and 3, he can do both the ramping and clearing out 2 followers.
Adventure's what I live for.
Starting with the Chaotic, will we see a 2, a 4, a 3? Going
He
with
does
the
end up
Reggie.
going with the 3,
It's a
yes.
mixer-upper.
There's a lot more where
It
that
will
came from.
be a choice. The only choice left is whether Elgrim will be playing either the Tiamat Omega, or playing the Dragon Rearing, or passing here.
I would imagine he plays the Tiamat to protect the Reggie. It is a really high value target, and Shadow does have trouble clearing it.
Yeah, without anything like a Lurching Corpse on the board, and not playing any removal spells, the Shadow player doesn't have a way to remove it right now. You're right. We could see the Archangel come down to banish the 5/1 and then Evo to do some additional drawing here. Archangel Remembrance draws 2 cards on that Evolve effect and puts a Psycho Pump back into the deck.
I have a question. Previously we've seen... I know this is not really too applicable right now, but in previous metas in the past couple of expansions, starting with, I believe, Fortune Sand, the removal card...
oh my god, the
Savoring
damage!
Slash.
I'm sorry, just oh my god, the damage!
It's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage.
I was wondering why Savoring Slash maybe fell out of favor, if you knew why.
Adventure's what I live for.
I haven't been playing the most Shadow recently, despite the popularity of Last Words. But I think it's just because the deck list is so tight. There's not a lot of wiggle room really to be adding in. I think the
This thing's this is pure
the Savoring Slash. So it might become an option with how popular a play like Reggie Tiamat is, but because this Reggie had already taken damage, it was vulnerable to something like a Savoring Slash, but usually at the 5 defense line, the Savoring Slash wouldn't help that much either. So maybe that's also a consideration as for why it's not the most meta pick right now for the Shadow deck. It looks like Illumina is scrounging for some health here. He's playing a Bone Maven to do a little bit of healing. We might even see a Nightmare Devourer come down, do a little bit more healing. If the Archangel of Remembrance goes into the 7/5, that allows Illumina to destroy the most possible Nightmare Devourers, trading the 1/2 in. choosing to not trade out the Archangel of Remembrance first and just summon 4 Nightmare Devourers. And the first one does not roll heal. Second one still doesn't. Oh, that one rolled heal. Spoke too soon there.
If he rolls one more heal, he's out of range. And he does get out of range.
He got it! But it buys time for now. But with 2 Gonda having been in the hand all game, he can survive the first Gonda, but can he survive the second?
It is a really tricky line to navigate because you do want to play followers as Last Word Shadow, but that plays into the double Gonda goes in hand that Dragon player started out with.
Going with the Sarcophagus Wraith to start, being able to heal a little bit here on the start, and Bone Maven will also be a form of healing here. But it's just not enough for the second Gonda Goza. Illumina just trying to play the best turn he can, not knowing what's in the Dragon player's hand, but what can you do? Gonda Goza just so much damage. So much damage was pushed this game, even though Illumina managed to heal quite a bit. 16 damage from Gonda Gozas, like 11 damage from that first Reggie, another 7 damage from the other. Just so much damage from Reggies, and Dragon just has way too much damage.
That has a lot of damage, yeah, that is correct.
Oh, I have issues with Gonda Goza. He's too much, and in so many different ways is he just too much. But this means with Elkarim winning that first game with Dragon, we get to see his forest again.
The eternal procession beckons.
And the first time we didn't get to see his hand, this time we'll get to be privy to all the knowledge that he's got going on there. The Tree of Wonders might be the keep, but without any targets for these Retracing the Passes, we might see those go. And Illumina really went fast on that that mulligan. He's got a Bubbly Reaper and a Sarcophagus Wraith, so very good start. The Forest player threw back the whole hand, probably just digging out for Arya.
Do you play the new Forest Legendary card here out on 1 to get the fairies out?
I personally would, just because if I top deck into something like the Tree of Wonders, you'd be able to fuse it right away and play it on 2. And if you don't, then you can just play out the double fairies. Sure, you can also get the double fairies from the Orisa's leadership here, but I think it's half in one does 6 in the other, 6 in one, half dozen in the other. That's how the saying goes. Bubbly Reaper on 2 here from the keep. Top decking a Retracing the Past, able to draw some cards here.
And it looks like he does play the Elemental Slash tech in his deck.
I didn't like it.
Too much like early on in the expansion, but as the expansion grew older, we've been seeing like a little bit more of it.
Yeah, I actually kind of had a different experience where I played Elemental Slash in my day 1 Sekka deck. But then as I kind of saw the more meta decks, I took it out, kind of like following the meta trends. And then it just swung back around to where Elemental Slash is now being played in the deck quite often. And I like it a lot. I quite like the access to the additional damage, being able to buff things like Shamu Shana, the Alberta. It really helps in certain games where you don't draw Arya and need to just push base damage through the board.
We all know how powerful a card buff can be, such as Shion, and Elemental Slash does fulfill that condition for 1 play point less, although you do have to play the force mechanic of having 4 other cards being played as well.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Elkarim chose to bounce the Feybolt back into the hand here. I know that he wanted to play that wolf to get a little bit of extra draw, but by bouncing the Feybolt, if he had bounced the fairy, he'd be able to play the fairy back and then work towards getting more Forest Craft followers left to play for an eventual Sekka draw. And if he wanted to, he could have also used the Wind Fairy rather than the wolf to get a Wisp to start the Windfall Fae turn next turn. But instead going for the Feybolt. Very, very interesting line. I wonder what the motivations were.
Ladies and gentle ghosts.
I have a lot of opinions and thoughts on Sekka. The Archangel of Remembrance tech in the Shadow deck, actually a very useful one here in this matchup, being able to banish some of these last word effects on fairies. The heal effect from the retrace in the past, not necessarily the most impactful last words to remove from the fairies, but I assume that Illumina has other Archangel Remembrances in the deck, so if an aria is drawn for the forest player, potentially a little bit of damage could be mitigated from the Archangel Remembrances as just like a little added bonus for taking that into the deck.
For sure. In addition to helping out with the Last Words matchup and the Portal matchup, saving yourself from 1 damage is pretty nice. And also another key thing to remember is that even though it is Banish, Banish cards do still contribute to the Sekka 20 quest effect. So something to keep in mind as well.
Yes, because there wasn't too much to draw with the Windfall Fae this turn, not a lot of cards in hand, no Wisps, not a lot of 1-drops, and with the Alberta top deck, it was pretty clean. Fabled Alberta turn, being able to get the Alberta leader effect active. I think as a general rule of thumb, you want to only play Windfall Fae if you're going to be able to draw at least 2 times. I think that's just a good general rule to have with it. Of course, a lot of things in the Shadowverse are very situational, very situation dependent, very matchup dependent. So it's not a catch-all sort of rule, but just as a general. The Shadow Hand is very full here.
Yeah. He can get a lot of cards with the Sarcophagus Raids, with the Wicked Rebirth. Pretty much has a lot of different options to go through.
Yeah, and he started with the Bone Maven and tossing the Tyrant, actually. The full cost effect of Tyrant, not very impactful in this matchup, as Forest wants to be losing their board anyway in order to get towards the Sekka game plan. So I think that was a good decision on what card to toss there for the Shadow player.
Let's go for the trade instead of going for face right there. Do you agree with this decision?
I think so. We haven't seen a lot of Evos being used for the Forest player. We haven't seen Aria yet, so we don't really know what's in the hand for the Forest player. So if it was something like a Fairy Slugger, the damage that you could deal right here, just that 4 damage, isn't very impactful. It could very easily just be healed right back with a Fairy Slugger. So I appreciate it, and especially in this matchup, if you can just get to the point where your Chris is active, it's very hard for Sekka to come back from that. It's very hard to deal with multiple large wards.
And I believe we see our first full cast. What is this card called? Something
Gigantic Blossoms. It's Gigantic Blossoms.
And this effect locks down 2 random followers and gives them the effect at the end of the turn, deal 3 damage to the follower, and I believe 1 damage to the leader. You don't usually see it too much, as Forest generally wants to be playing other things, but it is an option if you have no other better plays.
Yeah. It does clear out the board here. Kind of buy him a turn to do things, as he still hasn't drawn into an Aria. Things like Aria and El Sorcerer can help get rid of wards once Chris does become active. Are we going to see just a turn 6 Sarcophagus Wraith? Yes, we are. Illumina took a moment to consider his options before slamming it down, but being able to trade in will mill a card, mills a Psychopomp, and with how full the hand is, I don't think Illumina is too sad to see that Psychopomp go.
And with the Last Words counts being brought up, he should be able to invoke Gremory next turn. So really nice game plan from our Shadow player. And he should be able to pop off on the next turn with a variety of Necromancy effects and board stats.
Yeah, turn 7 Gremory Invoke into IMP is very classic for the Shadowcraft decks that we've seen in recent metas. Or when we do see Shadow, that is. So I think we might see a Windfall Fae turn here. It looks like Sekka isn't active just yet, but you might have to just bite that bullet, maybe manually evo it to remove the 4/4. It's not ideal, but it's something to do this turn at least. Very
yeah,
dry
draws
hand.
are looking pretty not great for our Forest player. So let's see what he can pick up.
Yeah, looking like he's going with that manual Evo on the Sekka to remove the 4-4, and we'll see what the Sekka X equals when we see that damage. It's equal to 8 right now, so we've got 8 Force Craft followers leave play at this moment in time. And if she gets a bounce, then it'll go up to 9.
I've got your party invite right here. I'm going on ahead.
And there's a Wisp plate, so now the Sekka is at
My blade is
10,
autumn.
and we've got
I am the
Alberta.
fallen leaf.
Hey, let's play.
Fall.
Ooh, drawing into a wolf. Pretty good here.
Hear the roar of my
Alkarim choosing to play the Sekka and probably bounce it with that wolf, gaining a Sekka spell in the process. Ooh, even got a Wind Fairy there. Ooh, and a
More
Shamushana.
bounces.
Meow.
Playing out the Shamushana here, being able to go face, will end up milling a card
Scaredy
on the
mouse,
start of the
scaredy mouse.
next turn because of the Shamushana spells coming into hand, but taking that face damage where he can take it before Chris is active.
I'm doing you a
We
favor
see
by
a
putting your
Bone
back to the
Maven
land of the
destroying the
living.
other world. Gatekeeper. He didn't automatically slam IMT for this turn, so
Yeah.
wondering
Does
what
that
the
mean
option
he
is.
wants to Necro Impulse to bring it back up? He doesn't have too many other options. Maybe he wants to go for the Nightmare Devourer instead, and then hold off on playing some of the other high-cost cards like Celeste Omega or Chris Krax.
And with the removal of this board, the Force Craft followers that have left play, I believe, is equal to 15. Without the Aria effect, though, removing even just these Nightmare Devourers can be pretty difficult. We did not see the Chris plate, so I do not believe the last words followers or last words cards destroyed is equal to 10 yet. It does include amulets, not just followers. A Fairy Slugger is in hand, and he's considering it, but at full health, not really useful without Aria. But you were saying?
Yeah, he ended up milling the Windfall Fae, right? That's gotta hurt. I think he was
Yeah.
looking to cycle through to get something a little bit more useful, so I'm not sure
How about some feline fun?
how the Forest player is going to get through with this hand. Probably be able to clear just fine right now, but I think he wants to draw into more key cards, and having that extra cycle would have been nice.
Yeah. Deciding to clear out
Thank you,
here
mercy.
with the Shamushana. Or not the Shamushana, the Sekka. I just called my daughter by the wrong name. I'm a bad mother.
Good luck.
Sekka here, then the Shamu's Gaze, able to reduce the attack on the Nightmare Devourer, so not
Go ahead and play
kind of
for
reducing
now,
the threat,
please.
if not just
Let's play.
when you're not able to destroy the card, being able to at least remove the threat helps out.
Adorable to the end.
The Alberta has now left play. Sekka has been bounced. Alright, we've got another Shamushana in the hand.
At the very least, he's progressing through his Sekka 20 body count
Yes.
pretty decently. So he's got that going for him. But we do see the Chris in hand, and the ward shutout might be too much for our Forest player to contend with.
Yeah, with all of those Nightmare Devourers destroyed on that previous turn, I imagine that Chris is either there or very close. I'm seeing the Invincible Monster Trio come down, which already have ward, but 7/7 wards are more annoying than 5/5 wards by just a little bit, especially when there's two of them.
Owe me an apology.
But we're not seeing the Chris come down because there's already a decent amount of wards. Just going with the Celeste, which does also have that additional effect of making these Sekka spells not able to be played, which can be very annoying for the Force player. I've been on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, after the Grimoire is invoked, Trio is bad enough. But when you've got a Celeste Omega on top of that, you've got wards, you've got Bane, you got a ton of stats out, and you're shut out from spells and amulets, it is way too hard to overcome.
Yeah. We see that Elkrim is considering maybe playing out another full cost, a Gigantic Blossoms, which makes sense. There's not too many things he can be doing here, so playing that. Considering a Wisp. Cannot play those resolves of the Nine-Tailed Fox. I think the Celeste back playing out a Fairy Slugger. Maybe going to do some heal with the Wisps in hand. Sekka Forestcraft followers left to play is now over 20.
My blade is autumn. Fall. Like a fallen
So those
leaf.
Sekkas will gain +4/+4 in Storm if the Resolve of the Nine-Tailed Fox is played on her. And kind of
That is triple Necro Impulse. Nightmare Devourer does have to trade, and the Necro
that-
Impulse is +6, right?
Invincible monster trio.
And then both trios are still alive, so they do have the end of turn +2 damage effect. So this
Yeah, that
should
is.
be overkill.
Corpse.
very much so. A very hard matchup for Sekka, especially when they don't draw Arya. So I will be moving on to game 3, it looks like, where Illumina still has Portal left up and Ekrim has their Forest still up. Very interesting matchup. I'm of the opinion that this is more of a 50-50. But I think I have a bit of a Sekka bias, so maybe Portal is more favored than I want to admit.
Oh, and Illumina does draw 2 Paradigm Shift generators, so it's looking like a good start for him. No Ari in hand for Elkarim, but that's okay. He still has time to draw into it, as his first Evo turn is turn 5. And just like last game, he did hold on to the Blossom on turn 1, opting not to put the fairies into his hand, saving it for a future turn.
Yeah, this time he does have that fabled archer for the turn 2, which I think makes more sense as your turn 2 play. And we've got a Sinto and a Gizmo Enthusiast in hand. I don't know what you would want to discard with this, the Gizmo, so we're seeing the Sinto being played for the analyzing.
And also, it does have a really nice evolve effect. Getting out that additional ancient artifact on the Evo help clear out that board. And he can decide to discard something else later. Always a good choice.
And the Tree of Wonders is drawn, making it easy for Elkarim to trade in the Fabled Archer, get that last word's fairy into his hand, and then fuse it into the Tree of Wonders. The Tree of Wonders getting 2 draws rather than just 1 with the fused fairy is such an advantage.
It's a pretty good value. And no surprise here, Artifact, Carrier on 3, probably one of the best possible plays for Portal.
And we
And
find
we
an
do see the
Arya
Arya.
this game.
Yeah.
We'll have a bit more of an interesting time this one. So I wonder what Elkarim is going to do for this turn. We know what's going to happen next turn now. We might see the Slugger come down, get an extra Wisp for the Windfall Fae turn, which will most likely be turn 6. Instead, just going with a pass.
Saving up those pieces for better value later on in the game rather than just playing it out for tempo right now. And we do see that Gizmo Enthusiast come out on that Evo turn. And an Android Artisan, another Paradigm Shift generator. Looking very good for our Portal player. Already being able to have 3 Paradigm Shifts in his hand by the end of turn 4, which is really nice.
He even drew a second Mobilized Factory, making it a very easy decision on what to discard with the Gizmo Enthusiast. Sometimes Gizmo Enthusiast can be a little tricky to play because you don't know what to discard, but very easy choice this time around. With the board being so wide, we might see the Wisp come down here just to clear out, though you usually want to just save it for the Windfall Fae turn. The pressure here might lead to a clear instead. Yeah, here we are seeing the Wisp and the Fairy coming down, probably clearing out the 3-1 and the 2-2. Yep.
Getting rid of a lot of those stats is really nice. And also, our Forest player does have a pretty big hand, so probably not too worried about drawing too much.
And they'll be getting another Wisp from the Slugger if that's played as well. And this is kind of a hard board to go with a Mobilized Factory Slam sort of turn here. But we might see that happen anyway. It'll depend on what Illumina wants, how much he wants to bet his, how health total.
Let's say you decide to not go for the factory this turn. Are there any reasonable alternative plays as well?
You could play some combination of the cards in your hand, either like a Cento for an Analyzing or a Cento for a Paradigm Shift, maybe trade the 4-3 to the 2-1 and Evo the Robotic Engineer into the 5-3, leaving the board empty so that fairies won't be able to trade into anything on the following turn. Doesn't use up your play points in the cleanest way. Or you could also like play the Miriam on the 4-3 after trading the 2-1 to get just even more Paradigm Shifts, or maybe potentially you want to save that Miriam for damage. Yep, we see a overseeing the bifurcating.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You don't really see this pick from the synchronization that much.
I really like it here though. It uses up your play points very efficiently. Will reduce the paradigm shifts in hand by an additional 2, which does not make them playable on the following turn after a mobilized factory, but it does get them to a lower cost, which is helpful to the game plan. Now, what do we see here? The Slugger could very easily clear out the board, but when you're at full health, do you want to be playing the Fairy Slugger?
There are so many retracings in his hand. I would imagine you want to get rid of at least one as well.
You could see... You could just draw so many cards. You could play double Fae and then just like retrace them over and over. But deciding not to mill his whole deck out by playing way too many cards this turn with a double Windfall Fae. Just in general, try to avoid playing a double Windfall Fae for all the people out there who are considering. Usually you don't want to unless your hand's really empty. But we are seeing the Slugger played out, so we'll probably see the Wisp on the following turn with the second Fae. Or we might see it this turn just for draw right now, depending on when Alfred wants his draw. The Slugger has no problem clearing out the board with the Aria Leader effect active.
And he does have double second hand, so it is a lot of brisk once he gets up to the cards left in play banished. Could see another Windfall Fate turn again, cycle some more cards, get more followers out on the field, and trade it in to the artifact player's board.
Trying to do a quick count mentally of the followers we've already seen leave play. We saw Feybolt on 2, and then there was the Fused Amulet for an additional 2 fairies. We saw Aria, which is 3 more. I'm just doing a lot of counting. And Shadowverse is a lot of counting these days. Whether you're counting to 20, or you're counting to 7 to reduce your paradigm shifts, or no matter how you're counting, there's a lot of counting that happens. A second mobilized factory was not the draw that Illumina wanted this turn. I think the ideal draw for him this turn would have been something like a Spinaria, some 1 play point artifact to play after the mobilized factory. So instead, going for his most expensive paradigm shift for Keen Edge to do a little bit of healing, possibly remove the... I think the Windfall Fae would be the more useful card for the Forest Craft player, but going for the Slugger as it is the card with the more attack.
This does allow our Forest player to cycle without playing his other Windfall Fae, maybe saving it for another turn. I suppose our Portal player, Illumina 666, was fearing maybe a little bit too face damage, a little bit too much face damage if you left the 5 alive. But the Windfall Fae does have value, so we'll see if that ends up being useful.
Oh, we are seeing a double Windfall Fae on the board right now, and as I said on the last turn, when you have 2 Windfall Faes, you have to be very careful that you don't start milling all of your cards. We're seeing a Retracing the Past. For a draw here. And then a Wisp banished out. Next card played. Oh, if you play that Gigantic Blossoms for an Accelerate, you'll get 2 fairies and you'll also draw 2 cards.
It's a really big hand size.
Yes. So it would be +3 to the current hand, which would make the overdraw at the start of the next turn. Instead, going with the Fey Bolt Archer, drawing 2 cards with
Shall
the
we
2 Windfall
dance?
Fays, going face with one of them, and I think possibly ending here. If he plays any more cards, he would overdraw on the start of his next turn, so he does not play any more cards.
I would imagine he was looking for a bounce, right, to pick up his Sekka and possibly chain into further cards, since he did float 2 play points and
Yes.
left one of his win conditions out on the field.
Yeah, he was most certainly probably hoping for a bounce, but with the second Sekka in hand, maybe he was feeling comfortable losing it. We see a barrier artifact coming into play. I did not do my best job of sneaking a peek at what the Forestcraft followers that have left play is currently equal to for that Sekka, but I think it's equal to 15 if this board is cleared. At least, I think it's at least 15 if this board is cleared. I wonder if we'll see a paradigm shift for another barrier. If Illumina is scared of Sekka, or another Sekka in the hand, then having 2 wards is better than having 1, because 1 is very easily destroyed by a Sekka. But going with the Keen Edge, trying to get to a different amount of followers destroyed up, I believe, as well as getting... Well, he already had a Keen Edge destroyed, so I guess just wanted to heal.
Opts not to copy one of the artifacts. They are quite expensive at 5 play points each. Maybe perhaps saving it for an Ancient or Analyzing to work with the factory, recover his play points later on. Or perhaps with a, I'm not too sure how many different artifacts have been destroyed. Maybe saving it for the scan?
Possibly. 2 fairies to start. I'm really curious to what that Sekka Forestcraft followers left play count is at for starting with these double versus leadership, it seems.
Let's play. Yeah.
The portal player is very healthy, so I think it's unlikely that we're going to see a lethal here.
That way? I think you owe me an apology.
And paradigm shifts were used up just like clear and heal a little bit, so all the paradigms, there's only 1 paradigm shift remaining in the hand. I'm just playing out Arya.
Well, even though we already have the leader effect out, she does in fact generate 2 followers that can rush in. So, something to keep in mind.
I wonder why Elperin played out that Wisp. He wasn't in danger of overdrawing. And the Sekka, I believe, is already over 20. So she will be gaining Storm and +4/+4 from the Resolve of the 9K Plus. Which means just with Sekka on next turn, that's 11 damage. Fairies and the Elemental Slash could do a little bit additional there, so I think Illumina might be in trouble here. He does have a lot of play points. He did get a new paradigm shift, and with a 1-cost Spinaria artifact, Illumina has a good chance of reducing the cost of the paradigm shifts in hand to maybe get some heal or wards out. With the Carnelia glowing yellow, I want to think that Illumina has 6 destroyed. I think that's the effect, is that she gets the... I think that's what makes her glow yellow. I could be incorrect though.
That is correct. Yes, she will get the free evolve with that.
All right, going with the Keen Edge for a little bit of heal here.
The abyss will be
And then
your
going with
terminus.
Carnelia, getting just the ward.
Oh, he's running Absolute Tolerance in the deck.
He is running Absolute Tolerance, and that is now a cost of 22. So Illumina did 8 damage on the previous turn. And how much damage is Sekka doing? So she does 11 2 more damage with fairies. 13. 2 more damage with elemental slash is 15. So you'd need to do 1 more damage with like a fairy or something, which I think he has the play points to do by playing out the gigantic blossom. I think that's lethal. I think Alcoran sees it. That's why the sec is being played out.
Fairy is being played out. And slash will soon to follow.
Making sure to play out the fairies first so that they can, you don't want to buff the fairies, you want them to just go in and be able to die so that the last words activates. And there we go. Are we going to see like another play for exact lethal situation here? No! He misplayed it! You were supposed to trade first!
Oh, wow.
What a misplay! He had lethal right there on the board and he didn't trade out the fairy first!
I suppose he forgot that the elemental slash not only buffs for 2 attack, it also buffs 1 defense as well.
Yeah. This would give Illumina the chance to heal with either Keen Edges from the Spinaria or for the 1 Paradigm Shift remaining in hand. And it's still going to be difficult for Illumina to come back here, but Alcarim giving Illumina a chance that he didn't need to.
Do you know the interaction between Bane and Absolute Tolerance? Let's say he plays a Bane artifact and rushes it into the 12 defense Sekka. Do you know how much damage counts for the Absolute Tolerance?
It counts as 4 damage.
It counts as 4 damage? Okay.
So, trading in the Keen Edge first. Not just going in with the Bane, making sure to do the extra damage to both reduce the Absolute Tolerance. I'm so upset by that misplay. I mean, it happens to the best of us, happens to the worst of us.
Systems stand by.
Being able to heal up with these Keen Edges, there's not enough fairies in hand currently
Going
to
supersonic.
make up the damage that's been
Activating red alert. Systems stand
healed
by.
back up here.
Going supersonic.
And Illumina doing a lot of damage.
Pass. I remember all.
Being able
And
to
also
reduce-
remember that I believe 2 Sekkas were destroyed, correct?
2
He did
Sekkas
use
were
one
destroyed.
Yeah. So 20 cards still left in the deck. He did draw Blossom though, which
It's
could
not
lock him down
lethal.
for a little bit.
It could lock down some followers here, which would probably be a good way to play out the Blossoms for full cost rather than going for some fairies here. I really like the idea of that, playing with a fairy, clash it in, and just going for the Giganta Blossoms. I'd even see the Tree of Wonders get played out to hopefully draw into something.
Would
Like
it
this-
be worth it? Would it be worth it to fuse a fairy into the Tree of Wonders, try to get more cycle out rather than crashing the fairy in?
Possibly.
It's a difficult decision, regardless.
It's definitely difficult, considering that 1 fairy is also 1 damage at this point. Sure, you'd get the fairy back over time, the Tree of Wonders. Oh. Going with the Gigantic Blossoms and then clearing out with Resolve anyway, I guess wanting to get that damage in. Still an interesting choice. If he had locked the Portal player's board, that would deny Illumina the chance to heal some more or play additional cards this turn. This gives Illumina the chance to put some damage in or to try to find some heal. There aren't any paradigm shifts in hand to get some more Keen Edges.
Bahamut does set up lethal for next turn, so he's just going for it. No protection at all. Hoping Force doesn't have enough for lethal.
And the single Shamushana is not lethal. And I'm so upset. Alcarim just threw this game away. He had it, and then he didn't trade first. And now Portal has a 12-10 Bahamut on the board. And he drew into an Alberta, so if he had drawn earlier, if he had played that Tree of Wonders on the previous turn.
That is kind of heartbreaking to see.
Yeah. But Absolute Tolerance is not heartbreaking to see. We love seeing some bad forest plays being tolerated.
Wow.
What? As well.
Wow.
Illumina from Hollow Sky will be moving on into our semi-finals, and we're gonna take a moment to just breathe and take that in. So we'll see you back in a moment. Hello and welcome back to the Spring Over Vellsar tournament, sponsored by Crunchyroll and presented by TGS.
Oh, remember that we're back, and I believe we're in the top 4. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. We'll be heading on over to watch W versus THGB Harem, who we saw yesterday with his iconic Chariot 1-7 hit. He actually went 7-0 going into 7-1, went undefeated for quite a while there, and beat EMT Stella, who we also saw yesterday, to get here to the top 4. And on the other side, we have W, who beat IUV Nitro. Both players doing well in the Swiss rounds, and but W making it to the top 4. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. W is playing the iconic Portal Shadow, whereas Harem, if he's still playing the same Portal deck, is playing like an Evolution Portal rather than an Artifact Portal, and in a Sword deck, which can only be described in the vaguest of terms, for its power is unspeakable.
Yeah, I'm sure there are clips floating around on Twitter where you saw the very unlikely Chariot lethal, and that was quite exciting, pretty wild. And his Tolerance double attack lethal with his Portal deck is nothing to be scoffed at either. And remember that no matter who wins today, everyone can come out on top with a 14-day trial of Crunchyroll Premium. You can enjoy the hottest shows like Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, Tokyo Revengers in HD and ad-free. Just visit crunchyroll.com/TGS to go premium.
If you really want to see some more power creep after this, if you want to see some more unspeakable scariness, you can also watch So What I'm a Spider. I've been watching up on that, and I look forward to it every week, really. Yeah, it'll be very interesting, again, to see whether we'll see the kind of memer that is Harem versus the very standard lineup that were, or at least the classes from W. We haven't seen their lineups yet, but who do you think will come up on top for this?
I want to see Harem go all the way. Chariot win to the top. I want to see all my ladder games just with Chariot. Just go throw all the finely tuned RNG out the window. We want to see some wild plays.
Well, we're starting off with the portals. We're gonna have to hold off a minute on watching some Chariot plays. Harem going with the full keep here. He's got a 1 play point card. He's got a Vern. He's got a Colossus Omega. So maybe that's the star keep that he wants and needs. But on the other side, the Portal player with the more classic Portal deck, or the Artifact Portal player, having a good 1-drop, 2-drop Paradigm Shift generators.
And by playing the Vern here on 2, he will have Sylvia active on 4, and that is pretty good tempo when going first.
Mm-hmm.
Do you suspect he will play Colossus Omega out on 3?
I think he will.
Get the Evo count up. Okay.
Yeah, I think just getting closer to that Evo count, even with not much in hand to like the Super Skybound art cards to reduce. There are still, I believe, Grimnir's hanging around in the deck, so
I get the gist of it.
Getting those Evos, especially when you're going first, you want to get those free Evos where you can. But we'll see what Harem's choice is. Yep, just slamming that Colossus Omega, not even thinking about it.
Yeah, this card is quite nice. Early game removal, boosts up your evolve count in the mid game, and does a little bit of chip damage too when it evolves. Sets you up for a really nice game plan overall for the evolve portal gameplay.
Yeah. With no artifacts currently destroyed, the artifact portal player, they're both portal players, uses his Gizmo Enthusiast to discard an artifact scan.
Judgment is paramount to order.
Artifact scan would normally bring back artifacts destroyed in the match, kind of like recycling, like one of today's sponsors, Return It Express, where there's no sorting, no lineups, no handling cash, and refunds are deposited straight into your online account. So you can just drop off your empties at an express depot near you. Signing up is easy too. Just head over to returnit.ca/express to enjoy some more recycling, like artifact scan.
Nice. And wow, that was a really good top deck. It looked really awkward since he didn't really have any playable cards really going into his turn 4. But looking at that top deck, boosting up the dead artifact count and clearing the board at the same time, really nice.
Carnelia was an ideal top deck there. We might even see the Carnelia trade into the 4-2 rather than the Strike Golem, just so that the 1-1 can trade into the 1-1 and get that paradigm shift in hand to reduce with the Strike Golem. W really taking his time to decide which follower he wants to trade into the Sylvia with.
Surrender.
Also, the image that he's given us to work with, is this a chicken or what? It's kind of scaring me. I kind of love it. I'm kind of terrified. Yeah, really considering the trade here.
Surrender.
Coming down to the ring.
I really like how what might seem like a very simple evolve turn has, layers of complexity in it. And, should I trade, not trade, how do I trade properly? And, he opts to go for what you said, just leaving the 2 artifacts alive, sacrificing the 1-1 to get the paradigm shift so he can reduce it further down the line.
We could potentially see a free Evo on the Realmia here by playing the Realmia into the Analyzing, or alternatively, Harem could trade the Realmia into the 3-3 and then banish it with the Archangel of Remembrance, so that the amount of artifacts destroyed doesn't go up, and it also keeps those paradigm shifts from reducing that extra 1. And oh, that looks like that's the line he's going with here.
I remember all.
Which 2 cards do you think he will sacrifice and put back into the deck?
It looks like he's going with the Ramule, which makes sense. The Ramule, when you're going first, past the early turns, doesn't add too much value here. So I like tossing that back, getting 2 new cards, and trading the 3-3 Strike Golem. The Mobilize Factory is drawn, but with no cheap artifacts in hand to really play with it on the following turn, we might just see the Mecha Arm come down.
Would it be worth it to just play it and play the Mecha Arm on the following turn, perhaps?
But that's also a consideration. You would draw 2 and get a paradigm shift placed into your hand. You could also be able to trade those cheap artifacts and then maybe get them back with the scan.
This invention could be my
But choosing to go with the Mecha Arm this turn. I think playing it after the factory was also a very good option that you pointed out.
Just trying to figure out how to trade in here. Does he want to leave the most bodies possible? Could he evolve one of the other followers into it?
Mm-hmm.
Or even evolve the ancient artifact into it as well.
Yeah, it's really taking. W really seems to be the player who really wants to take his time on his turns. Doesn't want to just do what's obvious. Really wants to think and very much confirm with himself what he wants to do on each turn.
And especially when money is on the line, I do not blame any player for taking every second to think about what their plays are for now and what their plays are going to look like in the future.
Mm-hmm. The Fiora getting drawn after the free Evo from the Colossus Omega, but here we see Spinaria coming down. There's also the Absolute Tolerance that's been getting discarded. If you trade the airstrike rather than going face with the airstrike, you get 4 reduction on that tolerance rather than just 2. Oh, I guess you get 3 from the Colossus Omega, so that's a little detail I was forgetting there. So the absolute tolerance is now at a cost of 9.
I haven't seen too much Iron Sting Archaeologist. This card was really popular a few expansions ago, and I think I've seen lists not have it at the start of the expansion. But I believe it was Doolin who had a really large win streak, maybe like 25, 27, running the 1x Iron Sting Archaeologist. So it's kind of nice to see this old school card come back.
Yeah,
well.
as a one-of tech card, it does a pretty good job of adding a ancient artifact to the board, which helps out with trading, gives you a paradigm shift. It's also got a big body.
It's my turn to do field work.
He might be old and he might have been power crept a little bit, but he's still solid.
Let me show you what all the
And here he is coming down to help clear out the board with his little ancient artifact on the Evo.
Quicksilver barrier.
Using the Quicksilver Aegis to remove that Lacerates from the Keen Edge, slightly reducing the amount of damage that W will be taking.
Since Harem did not evolve face on his turn 6, do you think W is anticipating that maybe he doesn't have Sacred Combustion Demon on 7, which would be really, really strong in reducing the absolute tolerance down to more manageable levels?
Yeah, that could definitely be a prediction that W was making on the board. But W also left his board empty, so that would also prevent a Combustion Demon from doing any sort of damage to the board. Colossus Omega might come down here, going instead for the Spinaria, another Spinaria it seems. I wonder if this time if he'll choose to Evo face. Or maybe just save the Evo for the tolerance. If he Evo's face now, the tolerance will only cost 1, so maybe that's why he's going for the Evo face this time.
Now W does have 5 paradigm shifts and they're all very low in cost, and he has the factory out, and I do believe Scan on this turn will come out as cost reduce artifacts, so he could make a really big play here.
Yeah, definitely a turn to come back from. He looks like he's on the back foot here going into the start of this turn 7, but all these paradigm shifts and a mobilized factory can definitely turn it around. Starting with a Keen Edge for draw. Trading that into the paradigm shifts costs 0. The artifact scan is currently not glowing, so it's currently not at 6, but after these are traded out, that could very well change. And there goes the Mystic trading and the paradigm shifts reducing down. Artifact scan is now at 6. We get a Analyzing and an Ancient. Not the best when you have Keen Edges and Airstrikes in the pool. But they cost 0, so how mad can you be?
Like this every millennium.
Doing a very good job of just playing out the cards. When you're playing Portal, especially Artifact Portal, you play so many cards per turn. You don't have the most time to just stop and think some turns, so on those turns where he had the opportunity to stop and think, W really took those opportunities. But knowing that this is one of those turns where he's going to play it so many cards, he did not do the things that he was doing on those previous turns where he stops and he thinks about all of his options for as long as he can. He really just decided to start going, making sure that he was able to play all the cards that he wanted to this turn. Even having enough time to Evo the Keen Edge for a little bit extra heal, going all the way up to 19. He did not take the opportunity to play out this maybe the Sinto. He considered playing the Sinto, but maybe ran out of time. But being able to do quite a bit there. The Colossus Omega and the Absolute Tolerance would do a bit of damage here, but it's not quite lethal yet. But playing out both would also reduce the cost of that the other Absolute Tolerance that was just now drawn. So I wonder if that's what we'll see here.
Yeah, it was a good thing he was able to drain so quickly and get his health out back to 19. Since I believe Colossus Omega does 5 damage on Fanfare, and then we have 9 from this Storm from Absolute Tolerance. If he does decide to go for the double damage route, playing both big hitters, Absolute Tolerance, let's see, that's 10 damage. from the
Virtue, avarice,
Colossus, and then another
look upon
9.
benevolence.
Does the destroy count as damage as well?
It does not.
It does not. Okay. So the absolute tolerance is not quite low enough for a lethal next turn. And the Fiora was drawn late, so it did not have the option to evolve boost it early on and maybe try to get the double damage in.
And Portal, again, having another opportunity with all these big followers to just trade in more Keen Edges, really, and do some more healing. Because of the order that the artifact is summoned from the Spinaria, he gets an Airstrike and a Keen Edge. Little useful tidbit to keep in mind when you're playing Spinaria, and she's gonna summon all 3, is the order in which they'll be summoned, which I believe is how they're ordered on the card itself.
If that is the case, is it worth maybe trading in the 2/2 in here, or does he still want more space to play out a bunch of other stuff?
I think he wants the space to play out as many Keen Edges as he possibly can. Also, he's got absolute tolerances in his own hand, so being able to do as much damage as possible by making out as many trades as he can. Very, very fun turn of, again, just playing so many cards in a single turn. I believe we'll see that artifact carrier come down at a mill of card after generating paradigm shift. And then another paradigm shift for another Keen Edge. And then face with 2/2.
Ambition and avarice. A brace suffices.
And
Seems
again,
like
running out of time to play that last
Yeah.
Sinto.
You know he wanted to play it before crashing in, but you know he also doesn't want to leave a 9 attack follower up. So even though it was not the best, it was completely understandable, trying to get as much as he could do.
Yeah.
Memento Mori.
I think a lot of times when you're playing Artifact Portal, you won't be able to play your optimal turn. There's just not enough time and not enough. No human has that level of computing power sometimes, so you just gotta play as best as you can with the amount of time you've got, and that's what he did. These absolute tolerances all cost 9. The Fiora was played on the previous turn just to clear out the board. I'm not sure if clearing out the 2/2s was all that much of a priority, but without having the Evos for Grimnir to be active, I think Haram maybe is just trying to get whatever value he can from his cards. Because he doesn't have much hand left. Also, playing at the Fiora reduced the absolute tolerance in hand down to 0. I think there's only been 3 Evos this turn from the Evo Portal player.
Another thing to note is that W has very few cards left in his deck. I'm sure he's considering it, and since he does have triple tolerance in his hand, he will have no problem lethaling, but just something to be a little wary of. Not playing out too many artifact followers before being able to lethal there.
Yeah,
Could be
he's
a
going
little
for
bit
another Sinto, but if he played another Sinto, he would put himself in danger. Again, how you pointed out, he's almost gone through his whole deck.
Going supersonic.
Don't think this is over.
And these absolute tolerances now cost 2 each. If that's how the game ends with triple tolerance, that'll be fun. That'll be a fun way to end this, I think. To do the most damage, Haram could get the 4/3 artifact from the Syntonization and go face with the absolute tolerance, and that would be a total of 13 damage, but it's just not. Oh, wait a second. 13 damage plus the 2 already on the board, plus the 2 from a Grimnir. If the Grimnir goes face, is that lethal? How much does the artifact cost?
Devour the land!
Wait a second. Wait a second. Oh my goodness, that's lethal!
Look upon benevolence.
Wow.
That was
Wow.
the Sinto was just what he needed. I thought that W had that, but oh my, Haram just continues to baffle. That's how he's gotten this far. He knows his decks, he knows what he can do with them, and he's on his way to going all the way, just like you tried to predict. He's just got to win one more with his sword deck.
So that win came down to a top deck synchronization for the Radiant, right? And
the Grimnir had to go face. Yeah, Grimnir
was...
had to go face for that to be lethal.
It's going for those RNG lethals, and it pays off for Harm, so that's impressive, I
baffled.
guess. The luck is with them.
My breath taken away, winded. I feel like every time I watch Harm play, my thoughts will heave my head as I just have to sit in awe of the plays that he is capable of. Last words into sword.
Oh, and it looks like he is bringing back the all traits type sword again that we saw earlier, I believe.
Yeah. It's
Early
kind
game
of aggressive. Kind of had some mid-range options. Has that Garvin at the end. Well, we'll see how it plays out this time. W staring at this all legendary mulligan and trying to figure out if he's going to do a full toss, and he is. Whew, I gotta just let that all soak in, really. Celeste on 2. He threw his Celeste back in the mulligan, but without any other... Well, he did have an Archangel Remembrance that he could have played for 2, just deciding to go for the value of playing this Celeste on 2.
You know, you don't really see Panther Scout in meta decks too often, but that card can really curve out and put a lot of board pressure early on. Like, next turn you can play Panther Scout, recover blood, play point, play another one, and if you wanted to, play the removal for 1 play point as well.
Yes. That's pretty wide for turn 3.
It's really scary. And he did draw into cards that refill his hand, so it wouldn't be surprising if he just wants to max out his play point value and just keep on the aggression.
Yeah, and there he goes. Getting in some of that base damage by going with base with the 2/2. And this wide board there, the Archangel Remembrance not having anything to banish at this point. And W not having a lot of options.
Well, this is a tried and true, tested Shadowverse strat, curving out and going face. Pretty good strategy.
Yeah. He did go second, so he's not going first and going face, but still going face, for sure. I wonder if we'll see Archangel of Remembrance plus Retracing to maybe get some draw in and set up some heal for this incoming damage, which is what we see. We can see Bunny and Baron, and then you could Desperado shot the 2-1, and then you'd get the car on the following turn, and then probably an Evo face. That's what I would do, probably. I'm not saying that I play sword. I know yesterday I said that if Chariot won the game, I would vial my whole collection and play only a sword, which I guess is my fate now. Catch me next time I stream playing whatever Harem sword deck is here. We gotta name it. Does he get to be the namesake of the deck for his success on this day so far?
Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, he's been doing really well with it, so let's just go with it.
It's Harem sword now, guys.
And we were looking for a
9
name
damage
anyway.
base. Yeah, we've been struggling on what to call it, so...
Venture call.
This is a lot of damage.
Yeah, half of W's life gone. We could see the Celeste get swung in, and then maybe a Nightmare Devourer. Summon out 3 more.
Yeah, it does clean it out very effectively. And advance his game plan at the same time.
Then we can get some heal, try to recover back what's been lost.
I mean, the Nightmare Devourer is a pretty scary board.
Evoling the Bubbly Reaper first to even get more shadows to fill out the whole board here with an additional Nightmare Devourer. I like it. Even more Nightmare Devourers.
And with 5 Nightmare Devourers in play, this has to be respected. If you just ignore board, that is lethal. So
yeah,
you do see the card come out, see where it goes.
This here's all mine.
Alright, that's not a 2 play point follower, or as it gets that 1 play point, he could evo that to maybe trade off some of these Nightmare Devourers. But first playing the shield so that
Forfeit your life.
Your life comes
the
next.
speed from the Gunslinger doesn't go on to his 1/1. Probably wants that for face damage instead. Not having a 2-drop follower to actually get in the car is kind of unfortunate there for Harem. Gets the car, but it's all locked up.
Those centuries
And
pass.
it'll be very easy for W to just trade it out here. Are we going to see the Celeste be put back in the deck, or the IMT? I guess only W knows the answer. I mean, I don't think we'll see the Wicked Rebirth get put back here. Maybe he's not even wanting to evo the Archangel of Remembrance at all, as he considers that he doesn't want to put back any of these, maybe. Or, back and forth with his decisions, putting back the Celeste.
Forgotten dreams gather unto me.
Drawing 2, even
Allow
finding a Psycho
yourself
Pump.
to forget.
W trying to figure out where he wants these Devourers to go, face or into a 1/1.
I would imagine they would all go face. The 4 damage is too delicious, and he is at a decent health total. Oh, he has to opt to trade into it. Okay.
Yeah. Even find the Wicked Rebirth on the remaining one, who gets a little bit rolling heal on a lot of those Devourers.
Yeah, this is pretty tough for the deck. Are we gonna have to see some really insane chariot plays here to come back in this game?
Possibly, but we haven't seen it drawn yet.
Yeah,
Too
I
slow.
love
So
this.
going with the
Forever
Shadowverse
and
Conviction for some
evermore.
quick bladers to trade out these 1 defense followers.
Every
And that's
power
lethal.
falls into
And Harem, knowing that he doesn't stand a chance, just top lefts before he even sees the Necro Impulse. And that was such a quick game. So Last Word Shadow taking that one. Last Word Shadow versus that Sword deck was what we saw Sword win yesterday. So Sword has one more chance to take out this last game to bring Harem to the final set. Or will we see Artifact Portal, tried and true, move on to the finals with W's more meta standard lineup.
where my blade
And that
dances,
Nightmare Devourer
heads
buff
roll.
and being played out on 5 really swung the game in favor of our Shadow player.
We're seeing
you know-
Olo on the Chariot in hand here.
Oh. And a new card, Cat Admiral, too. I like this card. Very
She's
cute, very
She goes
usable.
face. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's, got Cat Admiral fans here, all on the desk. And if you need anything else for your desk, if you're looking for that final piece, find everything you need to build the best workstation or battle station at cantoliving.com. Check out their monitor mounts, speakers, and stands today. We've got one paradigm shift generator in the form of Android Artisan for W, as well as the Carnelia for the Evo turn going second. So a pretty nice start. Still looking for a little bit more for turns. Well, there's the turn 1 play. And if he finds a turn 3 play, W's looking pretty good.
Adventures
Chaotic on
live
2,
for.
pretty iconic.
Yeah, really sets you up for a strong early game board. I like it. And then on
Fighter
the
is
third turn-
quaking.
Yeah. And on the third turn, we can see the classic Panther plus another 2-drop as well. Really putting out the overwhelming stats out early.
W can try to contest board a little bit here by putting out to the Android Artisan, or maybe even going for like a Sinto into analyzing, maybe once that card draw. But I imagine the Android Artisan is the standard turn 2 play. But as we saw in the last time that W was playing Portal, he really likes to take his time on these early turns where he's got the breathing room before those Portal turns where he has to play out 20 cards in a single turn. So I can appreciate just the moment to breathe. Maybe he's deciding now what he's going to do on turn 3 and which 4-drop he wants to play on turn 4. Really thinking ahead, possibly. Because with that Technomancer, he could be looking to either copy the Spinari on the board, maybe he wants to copy the the Ralmia that he might get from the Spinaria next turn. Oh, he's actually going, it seems, for the Technomancer right now. Getting that Spinaria's artifact and maybe trading the Spinaria's artifact and getting his Ralmia. Nope, going face with it.
Have you seen very many Bunny and Barons on the ladder lately?
Not on ladder. I just don't see Sword in general all that often, so hard to really speak to it. But I do think Bunny and Baron is a good fit for this somewhat aggressive Sword deck that Harem has.
Yeah, with the recent buff, although in the previous game it didn't get a rider, the 2 cost for the maneuver instead of 5 cost is a lot easier to fulfill.
Going with
And it does go
Oolong
off the
Chariot on turn 3.
Maybe he's hoping for a ward here?
Getting a 1/1.
Which random effect do you think would be best in this situation?
I'm not certain. I think I would want face damage. It has a face damage roll, right?
Yes,
We like
2
face damage here.
Decides to trade in one of these Spinaria artifacts, which will tutor the Ralmia and help clear out the board. So the fearsome 4/4 stat will be eliminated.
We're on red alert.
It will leave up a 2/2 to go face on the following turn, but pretty cleared out otherwise. There's another chariot. We'll play another chariot here. Harm, you have the option. You can even play Panther Scout Chariot. Maybe he did want that 1/1 actually. With the Cat Admirals in hand, they want Rally 7, I do believe. So currently Rally is at 3.
Scratch my post. We're ready
Cat
to sail.
Admirals at
My
4,
post.
double Cat
We're
Admiral.
ready to sail?
Oh, I think he's hoping for an evolve face here, but W does have a clean way of dealing with both, so we will not be able to evolve face on the next turn. Portal does have a few ways to remove 2 followers on their first evolve turn. They have Iron Sting, the 1x of, they have Carnelia, and they also have the 2-drop that discards. The name is failing me right now. That also summons an
Gizmo?
ancient artifact.
Gizmo Enthusiast.
Gizmo Enthusiast, yes.
Yeah.
The abyss will be your terminus.
Going
And
with
I
the Carnelia
suppose
for the option.
Activating Alpha.
And I suppose he does know that he 100% has a Ralmia in hand. So a 2-drop plus a Ralmia trade would also do it as well.
But maybe he just wanted to play out Curve. Save his chariot for later.
Give him our name.
Here we see Bunny and Baron coming down, probably just going for the ward and then maybe an Evo face.
You got venture call.
There is only one paradigm shift in the hand currently. Oh, he's looking like he's might trade. Trading. And my aggro sword. Whoa. It's not my aggro sword, it's Harm's aggro sword. But we've got a mobilized factory off the top here. I don't know if W is looking to ignore the 5/5 Bunny and Baron and just slam a factory, or W has another plan in mind, maybe playing the Mecha Arm and double trading, or maybe going for the Iron Sting and similarly double trading. And W is definitely taking that time to consider, as he does when he has that breathing room. If the Bunny and Baron is destroyed on this turn, it will summon the car, the getaway car on the next turn. And this time, Harem does have a Panther Scout that could ride that car. Panther in a car. You don't see that every day. And W choosing the Mecha Arm and possibly a double trade, maybe holding on to the Eva for a future turn.
I like Evolve Ancient Artifact here. Just putting that the pressure on and putting out as much stats as possible. I don't think W is too concerned about Evo, just wants to get out as much stat as possible and push as much face damage as possible.
One of the random effects from the getaway car is dealing damage to a follower on the board. So
honor thy
Speed things
form.
up.
Going with the stroke of conviction and still not putting anything on the car. I don't think I like that.
Paint over
I
the
think I want something to ride the car.
There's
car
no
has
time
storm.
for you slugs.
Car goes face.
Too slow. Too slow.
But just going with the stroke of conviction, pushing out 6 damage with it. Putting
Wow.
W at that 10 right before the Oluwan turn, so maybe that's the consideration.
Hmm.
If you could accomplish something similar by putting the scout on the bike or on the car.
Well, W does have heal and can generate more paradigm shifts.
You got the whole board.
And clear the whole board.
You'll find gizmos like this everywhere.
But, you know, we've seen wild things happen on this stream, especially with that chariot.
Let me show you what all the buzz is. Get lost.
I believe Evolved Chariot can do 20, right?
It can.
Yeah, it can.
Cost to 22 yourself. So, Harem, let's see what you got in ya. Are you going to roll the dice yet again? Feeling lucky?
Should have been quicker.
Surrender.
I mean,
Oh, he's thinking about it. He's got
I
the
used
card
to-
highlighted.
it's right there. Sure, you've got the Garvin on next turn, but Garvin's not guaranteed lethal, so here we go. It's chariot time, baby.
I go where
I'm not ready. Oh, he did not Evo it, and he just cleared the board.
You know,
did
not the
not-
worst.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't need to Evo it for it to, if it hit the face twice, which it needed to hit twice on the face for it to be lethal, so not using that Evo out. So now what is the play for W? W managed to not take any face damage from those chariot hits. If we
Can
see
he clear 11?
That's a good question.
He could
If he-
decide to go super wide and hope it doesn't hit face as well. Also
Mhm.
consideration.
I think if he goes Realmia, maybe double Realmia, double trades, and then a paradigm shift will clear it out. Yeah, probably. Might have to trade everything in, but I don't think W wants to keep a chariot on the board.
Yeah, that is really spooky.
All systems.
Probably not what he wants.
Blast boosters ready. We're going full. Going supersonic. We're on red alert. Going supersonic.
Oh, I gotta go fast.
Red alert. We're on red alert.
You got it,
Repeat,
you got
we're
it.
on red alert.
Just gotta play it. Here you go. Yeah, he's got plenty of time.
Nice.
Plenty of time.
I will never stop.
And here we see an invoke of the Baron.
Oh my goodness. That's an Albert.
And that's an Albert. Do we just see Garvin face and then Albert next turn?
So Albert evolved with nothing destroyed as 10 damage, right? And Garvin should have at least 6 damage. But he does have 2 paradigm shifts, so let's see. Heal 6, minimum. And we don't know.
Wait,
I don't know.
with the absolute tolerance is also costing 4 in W's hand, so that's a lot of damage too.
Yeah.
Going with the Panther Scout.
This here's all mine.
Do we know
Not
how
playing
many traits have been destroyed?
I do not know off the top of my head.
So I guess we can try to count. We have an officer. The chariot died, so that was a commander. There is a natural on the board, so we can count that as well. So we're looking at least 8 damage if he full clears that the Garvin can be doing.
Okay, going with the Albert this turn rather than saying it for 29.
Wait, not yet. You forfeit your life.
Very interesting.
You're weak.
With only 2 paradigm shifts, I don't believe there's. Oh, is there lethal? Analyzing. So maybe we'll just have to see
You don't find gizmos like this
Nope.
every millennium.
what's going
Wait.
on. That
Uh-oh.
was
Blow on, dear wind.
he doesn't have the play points to play anything else, and he's leaving
Systems
Lethal up on
overloaded.
board. And
What?
W, after
A little
so many turns,
anticlimactic.
after so many turns of very careful consideration from W, we see him just like slam an Android Arson, run out of play points, and not be able to play anything else there. And ending this set with Harm not doing anything crazy, just wow. But Harm is moving on to the finals, and the other semifinal match has also concluded, so we're going to take a quick break and then come back on the grand finals. Hello and welcome back. We are getting ready to head into our grand finals for the spring Over Vellsar Shadowverse event, sponsored by Crunchyroll and presented by the Gaming Stadium. Make sure you keep the action going after the tournament with a 14-day trial of Crunchyroll Premium. Plenty of time to binge the season's biggest hits like Tokyo Revengers or My Hero Academia. Just visit crunchyroll.com/TGS to go premium.
And if you're looking for the final piece for your work from home or gaming setup, find everything you need to build the best workstation or battle station at cantoliving.com. Check out their monitors, mounts, speakers, and stands today. And our final match is between Harem and Illumina, and I'm very excited to see this match being played out. I'm rooting for the Trait Sword deck. Chariot has won my heart. The last match was a little anticlimactic, so hopefully we're going to see some really solid and sick plays in the upcoming grand final.
Yeah, Illumina we saw earlier has a very standard Shadow Portal lineup going against Harem's iconic 1-2 combo of Evo Portal and Harem Sword, and it's been a whole day of lots of intense Shadowverse action, and I'm ready to see how it's going to come to a conclusion. How do you think this is going to end? Is meta going to prevail, or I guess you've already said that you're looking forward to Chariot Sword going all the way. So I'm going to try to believe in meta. I've got that competitive spirit within me. I am deeply entrenched in the competitive environment, and I want to believe that the competitive players know what they're doing. We played this lineup for a reason. The Shadow Portal has made it this far for a reason, and it can only be stopped by Chariot, really.
I think everyone bringing Shadow today looked really solid. I think it was just like maybe the Dragon deck's feeling pretty favored against it, if my memory serves correctly.
Yeah.
And we are into our next game. Artifact versus Evolve Tolerance Portal. Want to see who comes out on top in this matchup.
Both going with Lashena leader as well. Very, very good pick. Nobody else but her. Sento off the top going for the analyzing for Illumina. Didn't even stop to think, in stark contrast to W's very thoughtful turns from the previous round. I saw in chat that W is actually a Taiwanese player, so maybe time was getting the better of him. Sleep was taking over.
Yeah, it's really late over there, I would assume.
Yeah. Was Miriam going on the analyzing? Oh,
I was gonna say opting to go face right there, and he does sacrifice it using the Miriam effect, and that will be nice because it does dodge the last dodge the bash effect of the Archangel of Remembrance, so that's nice.
even able to trail the realm in to reduce that paradigm shift and prevent it as well from being banished. Harem playing his own artifacts despite not playing Artifact Portal.
Does this deck run Realmia as well, just to grab the something from the Spinari artifact, or no?
I believe it does, because it also gets a free Evo when an artifact is played, so I think I've seen it in his deck. Played in previous rounds.
And he does have that first evolve Ramia, which is really nice. Gonna boost up those play points. I love boosting my play points. And
Illumina.
it looks like he will also be able to get the Sylvia Resonance effect out as well. It's a lot of stats on board for the turn 4.
Judgment is paramount to order.
Sylvia Ramiel on 4, going second. Very good play for Harm. In the Evo Portal deck, and going second in general, making it that much easier to get access to these Evo points for Harm. And with the Spinaria's artifact on the board, Harm will be able to toggle back into Resonance on the following turn if he wants to play another Sylvia next turn.
Oh, Factory Slam.
Factory Slam, never mind, you can't toggle it now.
That's a lot of damage on board to be presented.
Yeah. And there's even Resolve of the Fallen, so you skip your turn 5 and that's it. You just skip your turn 5 and you get nothing in return for Illumina.
Yeah, that's pretty devastating too.
What a punish for Harm. Or what a punish Harm has given Illumina, really.
And he has guaranteed Storm in hand with this Syntonization. Doesn't have to play it out right now. Could elect to put the Grimner out for body and face damage right now, and put in the 6 damage later with the evolved Radiant Artifact, if he decides to go for it.
If we see Radiant Artifact winning out the game again, it's picking it up right now, and then just putting down board presence, it seems, with the Archangel of Remembrance coming down, but keeping the Flower. Illumina has access to a little bit of heal in the form of 1 Paradigm Shift, picking up and analyzing, digging for something. Going for an Android Artisan as well to reduce the cost of that Paradigm Shift with this Evo analyzing, but I think that this just isn't enough. Illumina is looking at way too much damage on the board, not really removing anything as that's just lethal on board.
Yeah, that's a little unexpected.
Yeah. And Harm takes this as a quick game 1. Now we're in that same position where Harm's won with his Evo Portal deck and only needs to win 1 more with his Sword deck to take it all the way. What a quick one!
Yeah, I mean, I imagine players have been playing for a really long time. We did go through a lot of rounds in the previous day. We did rounds 7 and 8 this day, and then we're doing top 8. So I'm sure the players are feeling pretty fatigued, and maybe
where my blade dances.
maybe not playing the best that they would if they were, feeling a little bit more refreshed.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also probably very late for Illumina as well, depending on where he's at in the world, so that could also be another factor of this. Harm having the advantage of that first game, going into this game 2, and he's got a good curve. Look at that curve. 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, going first. Oh, the damage, it's about to come.
Yeah.
At least Illumina has the Bubbly Reaper for a good 2 drop.
Adventure's what I live for.
Are we gonna see the Nightmare Devourer turn?
Illumina's gonna have to draw it into it. So here comes the Bubbly Reaper, and if you want a fast and easy way to recycle your bubblies, your can of pop, your energy drinks, or even a juice box that you finished, with Return It Express, there's no sorting, no lineups, no handling cash, and refunds are deposited straight into your online account. You can just drop off your empties at an express depot near you and go. Signing up to ZZ2, just head to returnit.ca/express to give your empties a second life.
Back to the land of the living.
Going with a Chaotic on that turn 3. So much damage out there.
Elected to play the Garvin to remove tempo from the board and just keep hitting face. And the pressure does look like a lot for our Shadow player, feeling the hurt. But he did end up drawing into the Nightmare Devourer. So if he can make it to that turn and maybe get a few lucky heals, he might be able to turn this around.
Too slow.
Harm choosing to trade out here, and then push some more damage with the quick bladers. If he had gone on Stroke of Conviction for the +1/+1, he actually would have added 3 damage to the board without having to eat up the Steed, and the Steed would be able to still go face with the Albert on the following turn. So could have been potentially more damage to go with a different form of Stroke of Conviction there. but still pushing a lot of damage here and trading at the board to kind of control how the trades go for him. Lumina could try to clear out the board with maybe a Necro Impulse here, maybe an Evo. We might see the Wicked Rebirth coming into play to help clear out the board here. See what Illumina chooses. Going for the Necro Impulse.
Detestable.
And double trading the 2/2s, it seems. And then probably an Evo into the 3/3. But because he leaves up this quick player, this Albert in the hand will be able to get that extra bit of attack. And that's lethal. No, it's not lethal. I'm the one who's having a tired time, I guess.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, the 3 drop does have a heal 1 effect on Last Words, so it's just barely out of reach. But still, this is really dangerous. Do we know how much rally the Cat Admiral is at right now?
I would have to assume it's up there. With all of the followers that have already been played. With the Evo, it probably is.
I was wondering if he plays the Cat Admiral and maybe the Quixotic, that he does Evo?
Going Evo
or Evo the Quick Blader. And even if the Nightmare Devourer does roll heal, it still just might be enough for the Albert, especially with that bite.
Too slow.
Are we just going to see a complete blowout?
Is this... Wow! What a quick one.
Should have been quicker.
Let's see, that one didn't roll heal, and that was the only one that's going to be able to get destroyed here, so... Albert's going to be lethal, and that's... Wait, Fear and
Oh,
didn't bike.
But
It doesn't
Still
matter,
lethal.
Albert still gets the plus attack, he still has an Evo as well, it's still lethal. But... What? That was so fast!
Yeah.
What a set! Harem is our Spring Over Vellsar champion.
Oh, that was amazing. I mean, I was rooting for him because he brought these very unique decks. The Tolerance Portal, the all-around sword, and, you know, seeing the Chariot plays being very memorable. I gotta hand it to him. Harem really did bring it all the way.
Yeah, he really made a name for himself this tournament. This tournament, of course, was brought to you by the Gaming Stadium, Canada's leader in esports. And if you're looking for the next big thing in competitive gaming, look no further. The team here at the Gaming Stadium are leaders in online esports tournaments and events. So go check them out at tgs.gg. Check out their other tournaments that they've got if you're playing other games competitively. And thank you to all the sponsors who made this event possible. Of course, Crunchyroll, Return It Express, Monster Cat, Kanto. It's been such a fun one. Like a lot of very memorable games, I'd say, for sure.
Yeah, and we can't forget NCorp with their Return It Express. It's very simple, very easy. Just hand it in, and signing up is great too.
Yeah. Make sure you also follow me at the Momo Jelly at Twitter and on Twitch. I'll be streaming my weekly Momo Open later this week on Wednesday, and we'll probably sprinkle in a little Memorial Day stream tomorrow as well.
And I'm Rod at AliStream. I usually stream Shadowverse every day on Twitch, at twitch.tv/AliStar. But you already know who I am, and you watch me or you don't. It's whatever. All good. Anyways.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the Spring Over Vellsar tournament.